Okay, so they should be texting me, not you, David, because you're busy conducting the meeting.
Well, I got the text, and so I'm letting you guys know.
Yeah, well, they should be texting me because I'm the one to do something about it. So who is it that's trying to get in? Let me see what I can do about it. Are they members of the public or who's?
They are members of the public.
Okay.
One person is on now. I don't know how she got on. Maybe they were all let in.
I don't know. I'm emailing now. This is why I can't be responsible for taking full and complete minutes because I'm doing this. But let me get right on that, David, and send an email.
No, guys, can I jump in here? Considering I'm running the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
technically.
Well, say who you are. I know that I know the voices, but this is Chris Borges.
This is Chris.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've been having all kinds of trouble because I'm having connectivity issues. So the meeting wasn't shared outside of the panelists until about a minute ago because no one could connect to audio and the video screens were stalled. So I've corrected all that information. I logged off on my work computer because my work computer is not a great computer, and I've logged on to my personal computer, and the feed is much better. That's why everything's going on now. So I'm going to try to share my screen with the agenda and all that stuff. So if there are technical issues, people need to let me know because I'm the one that can figure out the technical issues.
Exactly.
Chris. I have a question though. So would it be prudent to maybe quote back up the tape, given that we covered not too much ground and we can bring the public up to speed for transparency purposes, including roll call?
That's fine.
Sure.
Because
and also, David, kindly, if you could kindly provide the audience with the notice that this meeting is being recorded.
So the people who text me, because they have my contact info and not Beverly's and Chris's, all say that they are in. So to review, we started the continuing ed meeting virtual July 22nd at 12:39. And we had a discussion about draft minutes and how they're going to be handled.
Correct. And these are the draft meetings that pertain to the virtual April 14 and June 9th meeting, not to be confused with any other draft meetings from past meetings when we had
correct the last two meetings that we had. Yes.
This is Debbie. I have another comment about minutes. We still have minutes from January and February in-person meetings that are outstanding.
Yes.
That will need to be.
Yes, Deb. I know that. Those minutes are in the office.
Okay.
And and hold on, let me finish. Those minutes are transcribed minutes, and they are in the office. When I get to go into the office legally, other than to prepare for board meetings, I'll get them and I'll get them up. You know, typically July is the month when I catch up on programming issues, and you'll see this as we go along. And I haven't had that kind of time. So, yes, I'm well aware of the January and February minutes. Some of them are posted for January, some are not. And I don't believe any of February are posted. But I'll get those done. I know you're concerned about them.
That would have been.
We all are. Yeah, we all are.
I no longer have that comment for this top portion of the meeting in addition to the board meeting. So we will await for those meeting minutes.
Okay, so there's no old business. New business, we have course approval requests. We've added 2 to the published list. So we have 9, and then we have 5 course reapproval requests. There's also a letter from Wendy Rundle from the LSPA about terminology and assumptions for electronic continuing ed courses. We can review the letter before or after we go through the course approvals. I don't have a preference.
Quick question. Can everybody see my screen? The continuing ed agenda for July 2020?
No.
No.
No, we just see the photo collage. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the
Actually,
first course approval request is from Rutgers, Brownsfield Coalition of New England. I assume this is not an existing course that they're taking online. Is that true?
That's right.
So I
That's
don't know
my
what
understanding.
I don't know what to do with this. They're not really requesting anything. They don't follow our format. It's not really clear what they want. And then the email we got this morning clarifying the request says the event should be reevaluated. But I don't know how it's relevant and should we spend any time on this?
So David, I have a comment actually on that, and I wanted I guess the board's guidance. When you read the email that Beverly sent to us to sort of introduce this particular course and basically affirm that it is indeed Rutgers. The email states that it is a request for reapproval, and I note that it's currently listed as 4A1, which would be in the batch for approval for a first time. So I have a little bit of confusion there as well.
You're saying it's an approved course under Massachusetts?
The email stated when you read it, I believe that it says it's a request for reapproval.
It says it should be reevaluated, and I don't see a reference to a course number.
Yes, the package in itself was confusing. Agreed.
I don't have a course number.
Okay.
So, do you want to table this course just to move things along? Do you want to table this course for more information? Is it irrelevant under 3.09 or deny table? More,
Right.
What do you want?
Right. So David,
Deny pending more information.
yes,
Table it until they send us more information in the format that we always receive requests.
Yep. So it's table for more information. And what is that more information that you want? You want relevancy to MCP work?
Well,
That is
I thought you put that in there. Here's the thing. I think we looked at this last month, didn't we? And we
right.
said, no, we denied it. And so she's coming back and asking us if we would please reevaluate it because she thinks, and she puts a little note in there that says, we think there's relevant content because of whatever, she makes something up. And so it's just up to us to say, did what they present provide us with enough information to be able to say it's relevant content to Massachusetts?
Yeah, that's correct. It basically speaks to the email states, dear board members, you may not have received this request for reapproval. So it's got to be either in past dockets or it's a brand new thing, and it still feels like it's not in the format that should be addressed to our executive director and then passed along to the board members for consideration.
It's not so much as the format. The format is there, and we should not be. They should present it, and we should not have to go back and make it so that
Exactly.
we fit it in. However, the content itself, we have talked about it last time, is that it does not fit the MCP our requirement. How is it relevant to the MCP and our LSP requirement? And then that it does not. So there are two things in it actually.
To answer the mail, we can say some of it may be relevant, like the PFAS topics and analysis. Go ahead and provide an official application for a course approval. End of that. I don't want to look into this and study it any.
Yeah,
I think what they sent is not clear.
I concur.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it remain. Are you denying it or tabling it or?
We're tabling,
I know
we're
you're
tabling it to give them another chance if we want to.
okay. And you're looking for them to emphasize the PFAS or some other portion, but you're primarily looking for it to comply with the regulations regarding relevancy to hazardous waste site cleanup work. Okay, got it. You need to take a vote, and we're all set.
For tabling?
Yeah. We don't need a vote, right?
We don't have to vote for
You need a
tabling.
motion. I'm sorry. You
Need a motion.
I think you
Okay,
you need a motion to table it.
Make a
David, I'll
motion,
make a motion. This is Greg.
make a motion to table the
I
request.
move that we table this application.
Second.
Okay. No, then we do have to vote.
Okay,
Nope. If you made a motion and a second, you have to table it. I mean, you have to vote on it. We have to agree.
okay, so the vote for the roll call, a yes is that it's being tabled. Millie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Baruch,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
and David is yes. Item number two is an EBC site remediation webinar, a future webinar next week. And Ken Mara, a DEP official, is speaking, and they're asking for 1 DEP credit.
I move to accept the course.
Second.
The only thing I'd like to say is that unlike other organizations, the way they're going to maintain attendance is checking people's login times and monitor participants for exiting, where a lot of other folks have random polling to make sure people are still there and engaged. So I don't know if that's something we want to require to be consistent with others, but someone can leave their computer but not have logged out. So as opposed to being in the course and waiting for a random polling question, which a lot of providers do.
Yeah, but would it work? I mean, I'm not sure, but did they, I forgot, sorry, it's not up on my screen. Did they have some kind of assessment of learning so that that's a way to make sure people are still there?
No,
No, this is a webinar.
no, they don't, because it's a webinar. It's not an on-demand course. There's no assessment of learning.
Okay.
So
But I guess my question would be, in the past, the EBC coupled with DEP has requested approval. So how did we handle that issue in the past?
Those were in
What
person.
issue? What's the issue?
The issue about no random check-in from start to finish.
Well, this is, I believe, the first time that EBC has joined with Mass DEP, or one of the few times that they've joined. So there isn't a lot of precedent, but we have had both. We've had random polling and we've had assessments of learning. So it depends on what the board wants to do.
So can
The idea is to ensure that the attendees sit through the entire course.
Right.
So
Note that in 6A of the follow-on attachment to the description of the webinar, it says the EBC will assign a staff member to note the log-in time for each participant, monitor any participants exiting the webinar early, and note the logout time for all remaining participants. So maybe that middle portion speaks to anybody who may have exited.
No, I think David's point is well taken, and I think it's important for us to think about this because one, it's a DEP credit, so it's important, and two, anybody can log in and walk away and never see the webinar. So I think there is something to be said for checking in. and we should think about this in terms of making this sort of a something that is required. There's got to be a way to check in to make sure people are still there.
Yeah, so
Well, you know, there may be software that would allow them to shut after the thing, allow the thing to go to sleep after it has been unused, or no keystrokes have been hit within a certain period of time.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be
Right. So
keystrokes
may I
during
offer, I'm sorry, Gail. So I just wanted to say, may I offer that we ask, if need be, EBC what they mean when they say that EBC will monitor any participant exiting, because it's EBC taking on that responsibility. So
No, I think there's a little bit more to it, if I may. I think what Dave is asking, and I concur with Dave, that when they're doing webinars, we usually approve it where they have random, somebody makes a random call or just checks if that person is still online, there's a participation going on or not. That piece is missing here. It's only logging in and logging out. In between, there's random polling that occurs.
I get that. I get that.
David.
So I think we should ask the EBC to provide that and then resubmit this for approval.
So
David, I
Bill,
think
that
this is Greg. If we
Yeah,
require that, I don't think there'll be any issue. I recently took an EBC PCB presentation webinar where they did exactly that. So they had someone who was monitoring, and they did ask a question or two every once in a while to so they could check in. And we just put that in the requirement. I think we can approve this.
So Millie, to answer your question, last month we approved an EBC seminar. It was an old one that had been done in person. I think this is the first webinar one. So I make a motion to approve this webinar with them adding in a random polling requirement.
Perfect.
I second that.
And for,
Okay.
yeah.
Any discussion from the public or the board?
Yes, from me, Millie Garcia, I'm just noting that perhaps clarification for future, if the random polling is a component of what they articulated in their proposal, which is to monitor participation. Maybe the word that's missing here is via random polling.
Yeah, so every other applicant, LSPA, Geopractical, they all have this component to monitor attendance and participation of the webinars.
This is actually, this is actually in our agenda for the larger discussion where we talk about the clarification of the electronic courses and where webinar and there's a definition of those two in here, and we will discuss it later on. I think it's included in there that random polling is part of webinar, and online courses, there's a test at the end.
Yep.
Correct. So I just want to be consistent moving forward, which we can be based upon the other applicants that we've gotten. So do a roll call. Yes is
Can I just
approving
ask a question, David?
Yes.
This is Kathy. In the regs, we're just looking for an assessment and learning for any kind of online courses currently. So we can obviously ask for more, but the regs do not require online monitoring or engaging people or polls or quizzes or anything.
Right.
Correct.
But even though the regs don't require it, as a matter of policy, the board can set it.
Yeah.
You have the power within the regulations to perform your duties. They're enabling regulations, they call them. So you are enabled to do things that would effectuate the legitimate purpose of the regulation. So if you want to establish a policy like that, you can do it.
Right.
Is
So
this a
we're
good
setting precedent by asking course providers for webinars to do that, even though it's not in the regs.
If I, there's an LSP association has sent in a, I think one of the documents, clarification of electronic continuing education. it might be a good time to just, I'm not sure if it might be a good time now or maybe later on we pick it up, but I think we should pick it up in the education committee, David. And we can pick
I
it up.
asked if you wanted to review the letter before or after we went through the course approvals.
I think we should do it after, right? What do you think?
That's what the consensus was. That's why we started in the course approvals. And I don't think it will change our approval process. So.
All right, there's a motion on the table.
So course 2 approved with that additional requirement. That would be a yes. Millie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes,
Farouk,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
and David is a yes. The third application is an EBC. It's a past webinar. It was last week, a Zoom webinar. They're looking for 2 credits. Once again, they didn't have the random polling. I was on this along with Greg. Greg felt that they did. I may be biased, but I thought everyone was totally engaged. There were so many questions and answers, and the roundtable discussion was excellent. Everyone was on this and engaged.
David, I took the networking opportunity at 10:20 as a sly way of checking in that everybody was there.
True.
And so I think we just make that requirement. They can do it however they organize, but I think just requiring it is would be important, as we already discussed.
This is Debbie. I have a question. From the agenda, it looked like it was focused on building materials, PCBs and building materials. That's correct?
I didn't understand the question.
The agenda seemed to indicate that the focus of the webinar was on PCBs and building materials.
In building materials.
So I have the same question. Is this the seminar on PCBs and building materials, and how is that relevant to MCP work? Or is this the other PCB seminar that was not building materials?
This one stated that it was about building materials, but the content was more than that, and they were referring to PCB remediation waste and where to send it, how to send it, what is needed. So I think while they were talking about materials from buildings during a portion of it, most of the information was relevant to an LSP and to the requirements of TSCA.
And often there's an intertwining between the Bureau of Air and Waste asbestos program and the BWSC ER response or site remediation that has to deal with PCBs. So there's that coordination. Often LSPs working with other bureaus of Mass DEP, and likewise in other states.
And it all has to do with the number of hours, and it's only 2 hours, and they talk about PCB, just a general regulation, an hour worth of there, so it becomes relevant, like that.
Yeah, from the course description, I would say it seemed less relevant, but from what David and Greg are saying, it seems more relevant. So I'll take them on their word that it applies to waste site cleanup work.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the building material angle because I didn't feel that was a huge emphasis.
Okay, I'm just going by what was written.
That's good to know.
Go ahead, Deb.
No, just going by what was submitted. That was my take, that it was heavy on the building materials,
right.
But
You're absolutely right in what you see there, but I think it was broader the way it was presented. Yeah. And if anything, they should have made it broader in the way they described it.
Greg, I
Well,
also heard from-
we should probably provide that feedback then, because if nobody had attended, then that's all we would have to go on. So.
Right.
Right. I did hear from LSPs that took this course that there was a huge emphasis with regards to releases to the environment stemming from PCB and materials, building materials, whether it's window, caulking, etc., and how that becomes a challenge to satisfy TSCA and the 2020.
So does someone want to put a motion forward?
I motion that this be approved for 2 credits.
Second?
Why don't we add in that requirement when you make the motion, Mark?
Okay, I supplement the motion to be approved for 2 credits and clarify the future class description to include elements of waste site cleanup.
Mhm. Second.
Okay, there was a second on that. So any discussion further from the board or the public?
Let's give a little bit of time for the public if they need to weigh in and type in their comments.
I'm giving them 5 seconds.
Yeah, thank you.
If Chris could monitor.
Yeah, I'm monitoring it so far, nothing.
Thank
So
you.
a roll call, yes is approval. Millie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Farouk,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
David, yes. So the 4th class is LSPA submittal PFAS perspectives, lessons learned from a decade of experience. 1 technical credit. It's an on-demand online course. It includes an assessment of learning at the end. You have to get 80% or more, and the typical other requirements like an evaluation form and all that. I make a motion to approve it for 1 credit.
Second?
Second.
Any discussions with the board or public?
Did anyone attend it and what was the feedback on this?
It's not, I don't think it's available yet. It's going to be an
Coming up.
on-demand online course.
Okay, thank you.
So a yes is approving it. Millie?
I'm sorry, what was Millie, what was your question, Millie?
Yeah,
If
so
anyone
this course was first presented as a live webinar in March 2020, and the LSPA expects to make this course available in August 2020. I was just curious as to the feedback from prior live webinar presentation in March, Beverly.
Oh, all right.
Thank
Thank
you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that. This is the conversion from a webinar to on-demand online course. So did anyone attend this? Is Millie's question. So we'll go to the votes. Millie,
Yes.
Is there a motion on the floor?
there's a motion to approve it and it was second.
Thank you.
Millie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Farouk? Farouk?
Yes, I was muted.
I'm sorry, Mark,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
and David is a yes. The 5th course, another LSPA, groundwater class, 1 technical credit. It's an online, on-demand course. It includes a test at the end, all the things that we look for. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussions with the public or the board?
Again, this is one of those where the course was first presented as a live webinar back in November 2017. I know it's been a while. wondering if it's going to be, if anyone had experience with this course, if it seems like it meets the performance standards, fast forwarding to 2020, and just by way of curiosity, you know, we had feedback on this one.
I guess not. So unlike their other requests that are coming up, this didn't have a previous course number.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was, yeah, live webinar in 2017. That makes sense. So roll call to approve it. Millie?
Yes.
Gail? Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Farouk?
Wait.
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And David is a yes. I got a text from the public saying that questions have been written, but they don't seem to be being read.
Yeah, I was having all kinds of technical issues. I have them up now. There was just one question. Can you please repeat how the meeting minutes will be handled? And then Wendy Rundle just asked me if I could see the questions. I said yes. And then she just posted the LSP did not present the webinar originally. That was
Okay,
it.
thank you. So Beverly can answer about the draft minutes. I guess we're waiting for a ruling relative to other meetings, and that will determine what's posted or what's written. I'm not sure if that's correct.
We're waiting for a ruling from the Division of Open Government in the Attorney General's office about the legal definition of maintaining minutes under the open meeting law.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess also those January, February minutes are just stuck in the office and waiting to be posted.
Right.
Correct. Thank you. The next course, item 6, LSPA, CSM. It's a future on-demand online course and webinar, 2 technical credits. And they spell out the requirements for both, it being on-demand and being an in-person webinar. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion, public or the board?
Nothing from the public so far.
So we'll do the roll call. A yes is approval. Millie?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Farouk?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And David is a yes. The 7th, next class, geopractical measuring and interpreting fluxes between groundwater and surface water, 8 technical credits online. This is switching to an on-demand online course. If we approve it, I assume we would use an existing course number, or has it been revamped a little bit?
Well, if it's been revamped, it has to have the designation of a letter.
It says, well-received in-person version of this course was offered. The proposal reflects a modification of this course for distance learning, blah, blah, blah. Modifications include extended lecture portion, a shortened and new virtual field component, and a final exercise. So I don't know if that's enough to make it a new course or not.
I have taken courses with Brian in the past, and Brian, with geopractical, half of his class is in classroom. other half is in the field. And we go from, I've gone with him 2 or 3 times, and it basically goes from, it's really very interesting from my standpoint because you do whole thing. So he's going to fulfill it with the virtual piece of it, and I'm not sure exactly how he'll do it. So from the structural standpoint, it definitely should have at least a subscript attached to it, if not a whole new number.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to give it an A because it has all the different requirements associated with an online course attached to it. So I think it makes sense to at least give it the A.
Okay, so
not a new course because it's the same material. Somebody couldn't take the same course twice.
Yeah. You're right.
It's the same content.
It's the same content, yeah. So it at least should have a subscript attached to it. If not, no. New number is probably not a good idea.
okay, so I make a motion to approve it.
With the new
with the A designation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
Can I,
Okay, any discussion from the public or Brian or the board?
I just have a quick question, where it speaks to a shortened and now virtual field component, is that going to be sort of, a movie? What exactly, a short clip? Clearly we don't have, we're limiting, with social distancing, COVID, limiting that component. So I assume this replaces.
There's 3 exercises that they have to complete in the field.
Pardon?
This is Debbie. There's 3 exercises, independent exercises that need to be completed in the field.
So that's what I want to probe a little bit, just as a finer point to our discussion.
The virtual field trips, you are going to visit 3 different sites online and evaluate them according to what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So clearly not.
So what I have seen him do, and this is again for the courses that I've taken with him. One of them was to do with geology, where fracture analysis of geology. So we went to different places with different types of fracture that you can see. So he'll probably go in there and video it, show it on the screen as best as he could, talk about it, get some interaction with the folks who are taking the classes. That's what it did with us when we were on site. Some of the folks would be standing in the back, some would be in the front, more active in participation. But I think at the end of the day, he'll have to take a test.
Yes, and do an exercise. So are you all set, Millie? With your
Yes, I
questions?
am. No,
Okay,
thank
so
you.
David, I have a question.
Sure.
Do you mind? I missed the clarification on the letter after the course number. Can you just repeat, does it mean it's a new course or it's just an amended course, but if someone took it before without the letter, they can't take it again? It's the same course?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. That's brought up some confusion to others.
One more thing I have, Wendy Rundle is saying the LSPA's July 23rd webinar was not on the agenda, but the request was submitted to the board. This was of the LIF 2-hour webinar to be held tomorrow.
We're doing it next.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's just not on the agenda that I have. So
Well, let me just say that those things were added at the beginning of the meeting, and because Wendy and some others couldn't get on, they didn't hear that David announced the changes to the agenda at the beginning of the meeting.
okay.
Yes, we added 40 other course approval requests to the agenda.
Right, you did.
Actually, we added 2. So let's do a roll call to approve the geopractical course. Millie?
Yep.
A yes is approval.
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
And David is a yes. And so course number 8, continuing ed credits using Targos and others for evaluating NAPL LSPA. It's a on-demand online course in the future and a webinar this week, 2 credits. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or public?
I just have a question. Are these, I know it's, I'm just trying to learn a little bit more about these acronyms or trade names, or when we talk about UVOS, Targos, DILIF, are those products or?
For LNAPL, DNAPL, different types of free phase product to quantify them.
I just,
Your product name.
Okay, I just wanted to.
I think LIF is the field tool, and the other acronyms are the software packages, correct?
Okay,
Yes.
so
For analysis.
thank you for clarifying. I just have a general comment. Often the question becomes whether we're endorsing products, and I just wanted to bring that forth for discussion.
It's a good question, but I don't think it's any different from other courses talking about groundwater modeling software or field screening.
Specific remedial technologies, we get those all the time.
Drilling methods.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so yes, there's approval. Roll call, Millie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
and David is a yes. And then the last one under this category is also a new one. It's a resubmittal from Enviro Workshops. It's a combination of past and future webinars, 14 of them, each 2 hours per workshop. We had asked them to provide additional information that we require. They talked about how they're going to monitor the attendance. They're going to have polling questions, at least 6 per webinar, and they provided their evaluation procedure for afterwards. And I think the subject matters we were all comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Some, like I said, are past, and there's a few more left in the future. And if we approve these, are they all approved with different course numbers?
Right,
Yes.
that's the question.
Because yeah, someone's not going to necessarily attend all 14.
Right. This was a confusing package for me. Just maybe it's just me, but
Oh, me too, Millie.
I just feel as though we got to remain true to how we evaluate, you know, each package on its merits, unless you have a combo and it's all tied in, or we need to separate it. So I leave it up to you guys with a little bit more experience as to how you handle the giant questions.
Should we table it and ask them to come back with them as specific individual requests?
There should be the ones that
last month and asked them to provide additional information, which they did. I think we could approve them all as, we could approve it all in one vote, but then give out 14 course numbers.
Well, let me ask you, for example, the one that speaks to wastewater treatment processes. I mean, you may have a release to the environment of some product that's used by a wastewater operator, but that does not necessarily, you know, may not result in a 21E as a result of a wastewater operations release. So that would be the only stretch of a nexus that I could find there, for example.
I agree.
So I feel like we should at least maybe either take a minute right now to kind of go through all the 14 quickly to see which ones have the 21E relevancy. That's the only nexus that I could find. I mean, when you talk about treatment processes, you're going to be talking about clarifiers, first, secondary, tertiary treatment. Not much other than use of chemicals and releases to the environment.
I mean, a lot of those treatment technologies really can apply to groundwater, depending on the situation. So there may be a connection there. I don't know the full details of what treatment they're talking about.
UV chlorination. I just thought that was a little bit of a stretch. That's my only point.
Well, we could table that one and tell them to resubmit for that one and show us how it's relevant to our practice if you want.
Make a motion to approve all courses except the wastewater one, and each gets its own individual course number.
I'm sorry, let me just take a little bit here. I apologize. You know, the air monitoring webinar, you know, if it's applicable to indoor or ambient air. Again, here we go with COVID-19 wastewater testing. I know that has a little bit to do with looking for RNA, COVID-19 RNA in ambient air. And again, it's mostly, there's some tests that are currently being performed, and wastewater treatment plants, I think it's Lowell and some others. But again, there's definitely no nexus there as far as I'm concerned with 21E.
Yep.
So I just, you know, before we jump into approving all, I think we should definitely take a minute and analyze.
Sure. So the air monitoring one is for a NESHAP test. I don't know if that's relevant to us or not.
NESHAP is definitely applicable to
Health and
solar
safety.
radiation and health and safety and things that are put in the air as part of response actions.
Okay.
Health and safety plan.
So everyone should take a minute or less and just make sure we have all the ones that we want to table. So far, there's 2. So Mark can amend his motion to approve 12 out of the 14, and 2 are tabled, and they can tell us why it's applicable to our
Okay,
practice.
I need the specific courses that are tabled and the specific courses that are approved, and then I want to know what you want to do with respect to numbers and course number assignment.
So far, what's tabled and not approving is air monitoring webinars. Oh, I'm sorry, not that one.
COVID and wastewater
water testing.
I'm sorry, that was garbled. It was what's tabled is wastewater.
COVID-19 wastewater testing.
Okay. And you want
And
relevance to MCP, right?
Yes, and then wastewater treatment processes was the second one.
Okay, thank you.
And
Hi,
administratively, I don't know which one.
Sorry, it's Debbie. Do we want to table it or just deny it?
I feel like we should deny it.
Yeah, I just don't see it. Again, you know, unless you have that situation where an operator is using a compound that's deemed a hazardous, you know, OHM, and you may have a release, and then in comes the licensed site professional to remediate. But again, you know, if the contents, if any kind of LSP opinion is based on understanding how a wastewater treatment facility works, then that's one thing. That could be a stretch. I just did not see it. Without seeing more information, I just cannot make an informed decision. So from myself, I would just abstain. I just don't have enough info there.
So 2 people suggest just denying those 2, which I think is a good idea, and they can resubmit for those 2 if they want. How about we do the motion that way?
Okay, second.
And then I think for the course number, we can maybe do 1 course number and then letters for all the different sessions, but you know, that's up to the admin people, how they want to handle it.
Okay, so you are, which particular, you're tabling COVID-19 and wastewater treatment, and all of the other sessions are approved.
So
Is that right?
We're going to go through a roll call and approve 12 of the 14, and those 2 that are tabled are actually now being denied.
Okay, they're denied.
Yep, so that's the motion. And there is
Okay, so let's do those separately. The denials, why don't you articulate what they are, those 2 courses are, David, and then the grounds for the denial, and then vote.
Before you start that, David, I think we should give them all separate numbers, because ABC is essentially for the same course in a different form. So we have to give them different numbers.
That's true.
It has to be numbers. It has to be. They're different.
Yeah. Yeah, they're different. Okay, so
you want a separate motion and a vote on the 2 that are being denied?
No. Well, I'm not, but I just wanted to say that
No,
I don't think we have. Hold on.
No,
Oh,
that was me. How are you going to separate them out unless you want to say? I mean, they have to be separated because they're denied, and then the other ones that you have to vote to deny them, right? So there should be a motion on the floor about denial, so that we can list those courses and the grounds, and then the roll call vote, and then the separation is the ones that you're approved, the 12 that David said he's going to run through that are approved. And then the motion should also say they have separate numbers or designations, whatever you're deciding.
Okay, so I make a motion to deny wastewater treatment processes, webinar, and COVID-19 wastewater testing on the grounds that we're not sure if they're applicable to our line of work.
But I think we want to say that in the grounds that they're not applicable.
Fine. I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in approval of denying those 2 courses, a yes is denying. Millie?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Farouk?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Bert?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And David is a yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the 12 remaining 2-hour webinars, and they will each have their own course number.
Second.
Any discussion further from the public or the board?
I have 2 things from the public. Do any of the new agenda items include webinars by Midwest Geosciences Group? That's from Dan Kelleher.
No.
I didn't
No.
see any this time.
Okay.
No.
And then next from Wendy Rundle, can you please make this Enviro workshop submittal available to the public? It was not part of the packet the LSPA received.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
But I have some, hold on. I had another question. Was there something that was included that I missed that actually gave the information about how they would, do that assessment of learning stuff? I think, right? Wasn't that an issue?
Well, this is a webinar. It's not an on-demand online course, so we only care that people are attending and maintaining their attendance, and they're monitoring attendees, and they're also going to have random polling questions, 6 per webinar.
That's all I need. Yeah, sorry, I just didn't look it up because I wasn't online when I got, I mean, I didn't do the check.
Yeah, they checked off all the boxes.
Yep, okay, just wanted to make sure.
So a roll call approves those 12. Yes. Millie?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Farouk?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And David is a yes. So we move to course approval
Excuse me,
request.
David, this is Debbie. Maybe I'm spacing out here, but did we discuss the conceptual site model course, number 6?
We did.
Did.
We did?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It was approved.
Okay, I'm sorry. Too many courses.
Are you all set with it, Deb?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's fine. So the first 4 are all by the LSPA, and they are all switching to on-demand online courses. They're all previously completed webinars. They meet all the requirements that we look for on-demand online courses, like assessment and evaluation and things like that.
Can we do one motion for all of them?
Good idea.
I agree.
Anyone want a second?
Second.
Any discussion, the public or the board? So we'll do a roll call to a yes is approving the 4 on-demand online courses as proposed by the LSPA. They were originally done as webinars. A yes is approval. Millie?
Yes.
Gail?
There are 5 of them, David.
I'm doing that one next,
Okay.
but it's different.
Okay. Yes.
It doesn't have a course number, and
Right.
it's different. So
Okay.
Millie, Gail?
Okay.
I got Gail, right?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Farouk?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And David is a yes. And then the last one is also from the LSPA. And it's let me see. Previously approved live class, didn't get a course number, and they're looking for approval for it to be an on-demand online course.
Well, is that the one with the 4 technical credits, David?
Yes.
Thank you.
So do we know if it got a course number as when it was approved as a inline class?
I think the original letter is the one that speaks to January 26. That gives a little bit more information.
Oh, B5. This course was previously approved as a live in-person course. As we know, this course does not have an LSP course number, actually scheduled the course. Okay, so let's just approve it and give it a new course number.
Mm-hmm.
which I make a motion for that.
Second.
Okay, any discussion from the public or the board about this 4
Yes.
credit on-demand online course?
I have a question about numbers 1 through 4. Sorry to backtrack. These courses are now on-demand online courses. Are they going to get an letter designation then?
That's a discussion we need to have, and I was going to have it at the end, but we can do it now.
Yeah, we are at the end.
It needs to be easy for the reviewers of applicants a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road to make sure that someone's not getting credit for taking the same course but in different formats. Why not just keep the same course number and then maybe on the CEU form note that it was a webinar or on demand or live, something like that.
Well, when these attendance certification forms are submitted as part of the application to renew license, we check to see whether or not they have taken the course in the past 3 years, because the regulation does not allow that, of course. So they do need the A designation if they're different. That's number one. If the format, if the instructors, if the content, if the syllabus is different, a letter designation is required. The same thing applies to the format. So if we are now designating this new on-demand, online format, then that's something different from just being an online course.
So if it's flagged with a letter, let's say course 1, 2, 3, B, a person can't take credit in the same renewal period as taking course 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Then let's do it that way. That's fine with me.
And that's regulated. So
Okay.
in 3.06.
Sure.
So thanks for that. And Beverly, so would you say that, say for the El Napo Natural Source Zone Depletion LSP course 1691, now that would become 1691A for the foreseeable future?
Yes. If you're going to list them now as demand online.
It'd be nice if we could use the letter to note if it's a webinar or on demand, but I don't want to complicate things.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So each of these 16, B1, B2, B3, and B will have a letter designation.
Correct. So one person can only take it either on demand or they took the webinar.
Right.
So going back to this last course, there was a second. I don't hear any other discussion about it, so I'll do the roll call to approve it. A yes for the 4 credits. Millie?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Farouk?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And David is a yes. The only thing left is if we want to discuss the LSPA letter. I feel like we're following the requirements that are outlined in the letter. So I don't know if we need to further discuss it or not. If not, I can end the meeting.
We can, Dave, what we can do, we can actually take it and think about it. And when we go in to do the reg change, see if you want to include some definition like that in our regulations and have a discussion there.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. This needs a full discussion. Some of these things, and we should make sure Chris doesn't have any comments or questions from the public on this, since
But we should acknowledge that by approving these courses during these times where it's not clear in the regs, that we're approving courses with these elements. And so we're going to expect them in future ones.
yeah. All right. Chris, did you have any questions from the public? Or
Nope.
all right. So, David, you can call it.
So are we doing a meeting in August?
Yeah, the meeting is set for August 11th. We set the calendar. It's on the website.
Right. Okay. So that'll be the next continuing ed course. There'll probably be another list of courses to approve. And I'm bringing this meeting to an end at 1:49.
Nice job, David.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. So for the professional conduct, Jamie, are you going to chair?
Yes, one moment. Is everyone ready to continue?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. We'll go ahead and call the order. I'll call to order the Professional Conduct Committee meeting. It is 1:50. The first item I think applies to the same discussion of draft minutes. Same issue. We're waiting for a ruling from the AG's office on that, so I don't think we need to rehash that again. So I guess we can move right on to old business, and Beverly can report on the status of the CRTs.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know how you want to deal with O5C, and we don't have any clarification on executive session with respect to O5C, but we've got some pending issues with that case. So my recommendation is that we have a separate meeting about O5C because it involves legal strategy.
Would that be for to have an executive session after this meeting, or a completely separate?
Well, I'm waiting for an opinion from the AG's office on how we go into executive session from a public meeting, because there's no guidance on that. I mean, what do we do we do that and make sure everybody's off the line? If we can, are we technologically able to do that? Chris, can we?
What's
can we?
The question?
This is my question, Chris. Can we assure that other folks are off the line and go into executive session?
Yeah, you just kick anybody off who you don't want on. I mean, I mean, I'm in total control. I can,
Okay.
I can close the meeting out. I mean,
We can reopen.
We can have we can reopen a separate meeting where only certain people are invited.
All right. Well, that's exactly what we'll have to do. We'll discuss. So O5C will be discussed in executive session.
Chris is in total control.
I'm sorry.
Chris is in total control.
Yeah.
But he does not take any responsibility, right?
Right.
Right.
So O5C discusses legal strategy And we will go, in that case, will be discussed in executive session. 20, and these are the only reports I have because these are the only files I have. 20C01 and 02, if you will recall, is an investigation that I'm conducting. The witnesses have been uncooperative, and so I am involving the commissioner in getting the witnesses as CEP employees to meet with me and cooperate. So we'll see where that goes. Hopefully I'll have some movement on those two cases by next month. In 20, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The witnesses are DEP employees, you said?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
The witnesses are DEP employees. Yes. And they have not, I contacted them before COVID. I've reported on this in past meetings. I contacted them before COVID and they did not cooperate. So I've spoken to the commissioner about getting cooperation because I can't move the case forward without speaking to these DEP percipient witnesses. Jamie, you had a question?
Oh, I just wanted to clarify. You said that these dockets are the only ones you have files on. So the other dockets prior to 2020, those are in the office. So you just don't have access to the information. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so 20C03 is a new case. It's only a few pages long, so I think I'm going to be able to redact it. Obviously, working from home, I don't have access to the redaction software that we use at work. So I will have that redacted and ready for review at the August meeting. And 20C04 is a case that came in this past week. And it's a private citizen who is continuing all week long to send me documents. So it's not ready for, so I haven't conducted an administrative review. I won't do that until the person has finished sending me everything. So maybe I'll have a report on that one by August, at least as to whether or not it's a viable claim, whether or not it's a money dispute, and whether or not we need to set up a screening committee pursuant to 7.00. And that's all I had.
Okay.
Just a quick question from Wendy. When will the public get info on the 20C cases?
On the what cases?
The 20C cases.
On the 20C cases. As soon as I can get it prepared.
Okay.
And there are 4 of them?
Yep.
Yep, we're up to 20C04 with the one that was filed last week. I've had them officially docketed, but through Chris Moss. But yeah. But the 20C01 and 20C02, if you recall, have been hanging around since before COVID. And I just sent out letters, emails to the employees asking them to set up meeting times, and they've refused to cooperate. So I've gone to their supervisor. I'm sure I'll get some cooperation.
Well, they filed the suit. How can they not cooperate?
Well, the suit is against 2 other LSPs, and the DEP employees are percipient or witnesses who saw and heard things. And I need to speak to them first.
Okay.
Okay, so specifically on 20C1 and 2, the time frame is when you can talk to the witnesses. You'll be able to provide more info on those, correct?
Yes, when I can
Okay.
interview more witnesses. Yes, Chris, that's right.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any other new business to discuss?
I have none.
Okay. So summarize, we will take 05C 07 in executive session, and the 420C cases will be presented at a future date, possibly as early as August.
Yep.
Next meeting will be August 11th, 12:30, and I'll bring the continuing ed committee meeting to a close at 1:59.
You mean professional? You mean professional conduct?
Yes, professional conduct. Thank you.
Yep, got it. 1:59. Got it.
If I could propose 5 minutes before we start the meeting.
Agreed.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So see you all back at 2:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you.
No, because I closed the door.
You're
Mark,
muted, Farouk.
hey, Mark, did you see the comment?
No, I drove by a bunch of people this weekend standing in a field. I'm like, what are all these people doing?
No.
And I got home, like, oh, there's a comet.
Well, you're totally out of touch with what's going around.
The only news I watch is COVID news.
So how is the COVID news?
It's not good.
Yeah, it
I
is.
stopped looking. It's too depressing. Just tell me when it's over.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah, it is. It's a complicated business, you know.
I'm driving to South Carolina in 2 weeks to bring my daughter to college. That's a little bit scary.
In-person class?
In person. At least they're saying that now.
Yeah, in Massachusetts they're not. Actually, you know, a lot of them are online, and
right.
That's where we're going to stay.
I thought you said you weren't going to let her go past Pennsylvania.
Right, so how we doing with quorum? Everyone back?
Got it. Thank you. Yeah. 30 seconds. Everybody's at home, seems like, except for me.
Oh, you're at the office.
I'm at the office, yes. Because
I mean,
office is quieter.
Looking for peace and quiet, I'm sure.
I come into the office just because now I've got a separate entrance that I can open, and nobody comes in around here.
Nice. Yeah, we have a very limited crew in Southeast region.
And I can, if need be, if necessary, I can just go lie down on my conference room table and go to sleep.
Nice.
Take rest.
Remind us never to come to a meeting.
Yeah.
Checking in with Beverly and Chris and the rest of the board team. 212 now.
Hey, Dave, did you get the picture?
Did I?
Yep.
Via email?
I sent you a comment picture.
In an email?
No, text message.
Oh, okay. No.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
So yesterday, I was actually, last night, there's a hill called Prospect Hill. And if you sit there across west, there's a prison, Sterling Prison. And that lights up, you know, it has got huge lights on it. And so the comet was, when the comet was up, the lights were on and it was lighting up the cloud. So it was quite interesting, you know, setup. A lot of people were there.
Huh. I'll never forget in the 90s, I was camping in Utah in Canyonlands. You know, there's no lights, no city lights or anything. And that comet, Hale Bopp, going over.
Haley's comet?
It was so bright and big. It was amazing.
Yeah, Hale-Bopp was amazing. I remember being able to see that in the middle of the day, just streaking across the sky.
And then the next morning, we go to a convenience store and we find out that cult in Southern California had all taken the Kool-Aid wearing Nike sneakers or something, and they were going off to a spaceship that was behind the tail of Hale Bopp or something. Awful.
So how are we doing on the count? Is everyone ready to go?
Ready. Do it.
Let's make sure.
I'm here.
Okay, should we do a quick roll call? Beverly, is that something you'd like for us to do?
I don't care. I mean, you have to have a quorum if people aren't here.
Okay, great. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I welcome everyone to the Board of Registration Hazardous Waste Cleanup Professionals virtual meeting. Today being July 22nd, 2020. As chair of the board, I'm calling this board meeting at 2:14 p.m. And as a reminder that this meeting is being recorded. Let's see, so I'm gonna move into announcements. And I just would like to take a moment to talk a little bit about COVID-19 order number 41, just briefly, since it's already on the agenda. But just note that since our last virtual meeting took place on June 9, the Governor's Office has issued a new executive order, COVID-19 order 41, which among other things rescinds and supersedes the previous order on professional licenses. So discussing what EO 41 means today is important because this EO directs all the boards across the Commonwealth to act on its directive. Just as a side note, important to say that the EO is not self-executing and therefore provides the board with the power to act on its intent. In summary, the Governor's Office wants licensing authorities to take affirmative steps to ensure that licensees know when their license is expiring and provide them with a pathway for renewal. We'll talk a little bit more about EO 41 later in this meeting, and also to ensure that there's understanding by all the stakeholders as well as the boards complying with this executive order directive. At this time, I invite the board members, our executive director, and any members of the public to provide us with any announcements before we move into the agenda. Hearing none, I invite all the board members to take a look at the agenda and determine whether we have any need for addition, deletions, or any changes to the draft agenda. I had originally thought about, I had a question with regard to the January 14 and February 11, 2020 minutes, but that's been discussed. Also, I offered that I would like to introduce the topic of EO 41 a little bit in advance of our discussion that's slated for agenda item number 5. And the reason for that is that EO 41 has a direct nexus with the licensing of the applicant's discussion. Finally, I think Beverly provided us with guidance with regards to what to do with the executive session. And I think we have found a path forward. So the recommendation being that we close the meeting to the public and then reopen the meeting for the board members to discuss and deliberate as part of this executive session. So thereby the agenda item that speaks to the executive session, in my opinion, should remain. I wanted to make sure that that's the same thinking for all the board members. Any comments? Additions, deletions, going?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as written with the one item taken out of order, as Miller suggested.
Great, and I think it can remain fluid. I think it will also touch with the item originally identified as in the agenda in item 6. So, you know, we need to make sure that we just weave that topic in during today's discussion and deliberations. Thank you. Okay, so we will adopt the agenda with that change.
Quick comment, and this is Mark. I'm getting some feedback from others. I don't know if people can mute their lines, if that would help.
I'll try to get closer to the microphone too, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it's you. It just stopped, so I think it had to do with others muting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so with regards to the meeting minutes, I think we've already discussed this. Thank you so much, Beverly, for all your efforts. And I know it proves to be a challenge trying to get into the office. So we will happily just wait until you get some resolution with regards to January 14 and 11 meeting minutes that are prepared or are in the process of being prepared, and also guidance with regards to April 14 and June 9. Very well, so let's move into agenda item number 5, which is decision regarding licensing of applicants. So today in front of us, we have the task of acting on 4 renewal dockets, and they're up for discussion and voting. However, before we move forward with item 5A, I'd like to, again, as I stated, introduce the topic of EO 41 and basically share what I know with you, which is that the executive order is asking and basically mandating that we act accordingly. And this discussion is not one-sided from my end, but rather I invite Beverly, who has also done her own legal examination of the EO 41. Board members that may also have, we provided you with the EO 41 signed executive order for review, and any stakeholders that will provide commentary. And as discussed before, this order requires for the LSP board to take action, and in fact gives the board authority to extend licenses that were due to expire between March 10th and July 10th. And if it hasn't done so, then the board needs to consider extend those licenses at least through October 1st, 2020. And that's for those LSPs that fall between that COVID-19 category. So this executive order supersedes the prior and gives new direction with regards to a timeline. And so we're going to table that, and thankfully we have 4 dockets that will alleviate the burden of those, the universe of LSPs that may or may not fall within this COVID-19 timeframe. And so I'd like to introduce the first renewal docket, which is...
Okay, hold on, Millie. I just wanted to make a couple of comments.
Sure.
First of all, the message that was posted on July 2nd, 2020 at 8:30 a.m. on the website is the notice to all LSPs. It follows the format of mass.gov, which is was put in place by Governor Baker. So there is a COVID banner and then a space to click on for further information. And it explains that Executive Order 41 rescinds part of Executive Order number 9. Now, if you remember, Executive Order number 9 said that all licenses that fell within a certain period would remain valid until October 1st. So that extension in Executive Order 41 applies to people who applied for a 90-day extension after the order, which would have been March. It does not include January annual fees, which were due March 1st. People who didn't pay their annual fees, and I'll give a fuller report on that, on those specific numbers in a second. If you, pardon me, didn't pay your annual fees, you were noticed. If you applied for a 90-day extension in January or February or in April, your license is valid until October 1st. If your renewal date is July 30th, you get no extension. And this is all on the website. You get no extension. Renewals that due on July 30th are still due by close of business on July 30th. So again, the only people who got extensions were those who applied for 90-day extensions in January or February, and those due in April 30th.
So I think, on the same vein, there's a clarification that LSP Association wanted, and I think we may want to bring that up here, because LSP Association is saying, no, we need to have a clarification in terms of both of these executive orders and what we had communicated to the public in our last meeting, our interpretation of the previous executive order. Clarification on it. So this needs to have a full discussion of the board, and then so that the LSPA can get the full directions from here and all the membership.
Yeah, I emailed Wendy about this. I mean, people need to look on the website. It's kind of clear. Executive Order 41 rescinds Executive Order 9. If you got an extension a 90-day extension in January or February, your license does not expire until October 1st, 2020. If your renewal was April 30th, 2020, your license is extended until October 1st, 2020. If your renewal is due July 30th, 2020, you get no extension. Your license must be all of your forms, application, attendance certification, all of your documents must be filed. Your fee must be paid by close of business, July 30th, 2020.
In your interpretation, Beverly, what does Executive Order 41 gives latitude it gives to the board? Does that give any kind of a latitude to the board to do anything with that?
It gives latitude to the board to extend licenses until October 1st. So that's really an internal thing for ROOP that the board, the governor has said, which I just said, which licenses Executive Order 41 applies to.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that if the 41 Executive Order 41 allows that latitude, I think the board can pick it up and discuss it and see what the board wants to do about it. Does the board want to extend it to October 1st or not? And if the board wants to extend it based on the discussion, we'll do it. If the board does not want to do it, board will do it. That way, we'll have a clear message going down to the LSP Association and the membership as a whole.
Well, I don't think you can not extend the licenses. First of all, because it's unfair. The governor has already said that those licenses it's an order. He said that they should be extended until October. So I don't think we have a lot of leeway to say no to that. In addition, like I began my remarks, it would really be unfair and extremely confusing to the LSP to say to them, no, we're not going to do what the government do. It might even cause us, the board to be sued.
Agreed.
I think we have, however, but I believe, yes. So I'm in agreement with Beverly with regards to how to handle licenses that would have expired from March 10th to July 10th by the powers of this executive order. But I think we need to contend with other LSPs whose licenses do not cannot avail themselves, LSPs that cannot avail themselves to that time frame for the COVID time frame. And the short answer, in my opinion, is that, in looking at the regs, I believe the board has the authority to issue extensions. I think, if I attempted to read this last night, and I, again, not being a lawyer, but relying on Beverly to help us, act on using 3.067 as the provision by which the board can actually just act on the renewal process to address exigent conditions. I mean, it could be that, for example, some of us at DEP are locked out of our offices, and maybe LSP have been in the same situation.
Well,
so
yeah.
trying to understand that meaning universe.
Well, let me just say that, first of all, and after this, I want to talk about some petitions for. I mean, I'm getting emails from LSP board members, all kinds of folks who really have kind of just been in COVID and not paying attention. But the board does not have the authority.
You're breaking up, and I apologize, but I think you're breaking up a little.
Yep. The board does not have the authority to waive. That's explicit in 309 CMR 2.1. The board has the authority to waive almost any requirement except the payment of fees. The other thing I tell all is that they have 3 years to renew their license. And it's almost always the same people who wait till the last minute and then come up short. And it's not a universal issue, but there are just some folks who wait until the last minute for whatever reason, illness, whatever their reason. But that's why the 90-day extension exists in the regulations. It gives them some leeway. So I think
the question here is, we want to go along with the governor's initial recommendation and extend all licenses to October 1st, and then go from there.
No, because the governor said if you look at Executive 40, which is on the website, there's a link to it, but it says specifically that licenses that are due in July have to be renewed. Professional license. So I don't know how you can extend everybody's license until October. And I honestly think that would be a disaster. There are 91 renewals for the month of July alone. That's our largest renewal period. And I can tell you that I was looking to see how many people have paid in July so far. We've got 8 payments so far, and this is this data is almost a week old. So, but I mean, 41 COVID Executive Order 41 doesn't just extend some licenses till October 1st. It sets a cutoff date of July 10th, 2020, and any renewals or licenses that have to be renewed after July 10th adhere to their date, their originally assigned date.
So Beverly, it's Mark. Go ahead, Millie.
Oh, so I just had a, just attempting to follow the math, and I know this is, becomes a complicated conversation, but based on what you stated, so we have 90 LSPs right now with licenses.
91. 91 in July.
Yeah, 91 LSPs with licenses that expire on the 30th. And today, docket 1, for example, shows that 21 of them have applied for the renewal, right? And they're likely to maybe be granted the renewal and proceed forward. So then we have 7 more that apply under the provisions that already stated, the one that grants the board with the authority to move forward with the renewals. So that would leave us with around 63 licenses that expire at the end of the month. And I'm just at least flagging for the board members that we will need to take some additional action to ensure that these licenses are extended. And again, it could be that some things are outside our control, as you stated. We cannot waive fees. So this will entail a very careful evaluation of that universe of 62 that is coming up in 7 days.
I don't think you need to extend. If somebody needs an extension, Millie, they can apply for a 90-day extension. They're not precluded. Hold on. They're not precluded from doing that. I don't think you should separate these people. Licenses are due according to the executive after July 10th. I don't think you should give them extensions unless they apply for 90-day extensions, because the governor has said they have to renew their licenses by their original date.
I'll complete the thought, and this is, again, I don't have the answer. This is why I think it's going to take careful deliberation. But so today is July 22nd, and the docket is the docket, and it only covers 21 plus 7 plus 4 plus 1. We still have that universe of 63, and we will not be meeting till August. So technically, my question is, for that universe that of LSPs with a license that expires on July 30th, are they technically out of compliance, and thereby the license is no longer at play? Because we could not agree, we don't have the information in front of us to act for that group of 63.
If they submit the proper paperwork, they can be administratively approved and not taken off EDEP.
They are administratively approved. Anybody who gets their paperwork in, Chris Borges is notified that they are administratively approved. But again, there are regulations to give them a mechanism to apply for a 90-day extension. You can't just, on a case-by-case basis, allow extensions. What about all the people who did comply with what they were required to do?
Understood. These are just exigent times, and I think it just takes a lot of us to kind of process what it means for those that hold a license. And so I think we're just taking a moment to sort of step back and clearly at least come out with some bright lines, as Farouk has sort of echoed. And I agree. I think it's healthy that we're having this conversation. And what I'm getting from, I think it was Kathy, and confirmed by Beverly, is that between now and July 30th, any LSP whose license is going to expire on the 30th, they need to get the paperwork in and the fee, because otherwise they might find themselves in a different posture.
Correct. And I think we've discussed this enough. I think we should move on. I don't. We have to wait until the month ends. People have the renewals to do. My only comment, going back to the beginning, is that Beverly put together a great synopsis of what the order did for all the licenses. And it would have been nice to have that short little narrative on the website, because it was hard to find going to the order.
Yes,
Here's
that's
I'm sorry.
Wendy commented, the conversation is only clarifying to the people on this call. No other stakeholders have the benefit of hearing this. Moreover, just as the board has spent time discussing this today, it is clear that clarification is needed. So again, stakeholders can benefit from having written clarification on this.
Well, yep, that's a good question, Wendy. I have looked at the registration of motor vehicles and other websites. And again, this is a mass.gov format. So what you have is a COVID banner on every agency website, and then the details. Now, what I can add is click here. But that's all that's on the website, the banner, and then click here. That's the only difference. And then you go to another page, and this is for the boards of registry of motor vehicles, the board of registration in medicine. You can register online, so it's not an issue. But the explanation, as I told Wendy in writing, is on the website. It's very clear who needs to renew and who cannot get, who is not extended rather until October 1st.
So I hear all sides, and as chair, I move that same information, whether it's written somewhere, posted as a click here and provide further information, so that we can have the membership, anybody who's not in attendance today, as a service from the board to the membership. The information is relayed in plain English as we understand it.
I'm troubled by this, the number of people that are involved in this. I don't know the statistics, but every renewal period, there's some people who don't get their materials in one way or another.
Right.
This has got to be 10 times more than would be the norm. And you can confirm that, Beverly, but it seems where this is a pretty unique circumstance, and we should be doing everything we can to get the word out to those individuals, either by email or letter. But I think given the support right now, letters are not going to be possible, but certainly email should go out to everyone who is not covered on the lists that Millie outlined.
I have two comments also. This is Mark. I agree, Greg. You've got 63 people who need to submit 90-day extensions in the next 8 days.
Right.
I doubt that's going to happen. The other issue I've heard from at least one LSP, any mailed notices that are going to people's offices, they're not getting.
That's not true.
So,
that's not true. That's
well,
not. That's,
it is true. People who are not going into the office.
What notices are you talking about? The notices, the invoices? Is that what you mean, Mark?
Yeah, anything that's mailed. Yes, anything that's mailed to an LSP, whether it be a fee notice or renewal notice, if it was mailed during the COVID periods where people are not going to their offices and they're still not going in, they have not received that mail. Even though mail is being delivered, they are, in many cases, I have not been to my office. I've been to my office once. There's mail there that I have not opened. So if people are getting notices, they're not opening them, and I imagine that is part of an issue if things are being
These are extraordinary times. So I agree. These are extraordinary times. A lot of offices are closed. So we need to really get the word.
Another thing you have to take consideration is that I don't know about a lot of the other boards, like PE does not require continuing education things. Driver's license do not require it, or some of the other ones do not require it. LSPs do. And we have a threshold on top of that, that even to apply for a 90-day extension, you have to have at least 36 taken already. Now, I don't care what other people think. A lot of people take their courses towards the end of the year. So between February and March, April, May, June, they'll take these courses as long as they're available. And a lot of them may not have that 36 credit that is necessary to even apply for that 90-day. Something to keep in mind. So these are the things that these are very unique to LSPs. It does not affect the PEs, because you can move the dates 30 days, 90 days, plus or minus. It doesn't really matter, because you don't need to have a continuing education. You just have to put the envelope in the mail. So LSPs are at a very unique spot, and they need to be taken care of. We have to address those issues.
Yeah, and I one comment from Michelle Paul. I do not see how it has gotten any easier for July renewals since April. I believe that the board should consider flexibility in July renewals relative to applying the same extension conditions as the April renewals.
This is something that is, I think, those out of the 63 people, if you ask them, I would think 30 of them may not have that 36 credit necessary to even apply for the 90-day extension. What are we going to do?
So Farouk and others and Beverly, I thought about that as I was really trying to prepare for this meeting, and there's a provision, I think, that speaks to petition for waivers. I don't think I'm here inviting for LSP to petition for a waiver, but I guess my question has to do with, for exigent conditions where we just approved a whole bunch of courses. We came together today, again, COVID-19 exigent conditions, and we really needed to have a meeting that takes place in July, and thankfully we're here today. And so the question, notwithstanding any of these requirements, the question is if a party, an LSP, going back to Farouk's scenario, which is, it's a real scenario, a relevant scenario, could they petition to the board for good cause under this petition for waiver provision? I mean, again, we're talking about COVID-19 and exigent conditions.
Well, the regs say you can't waive fees. The board does not have, remember I talked about what the regulations are called enabling regulations. So what they allow you to do, you can do. You can't, what the regs specifically prohibit, you cannot do. So even if you decide, hold on, please, I have the floor. I'm so sick of people cutting me off. If you don't want me to answer, I'll just shut up.
No, we're just having a conversation, and the question that I have in front of the board, the question that I have in front of the board does not contemplate waiver of fees, because clearly it's not allowed, or any waiver of any rule of professional conduct, but just solely on the
excuse me, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'll just complete my thought here. Solely on the fact that the party has paid the fee, put in the paperwork, pardon me, has the ability to pay the fee, puts in the petition, wants to put in a petition, wants to file something before July 30th, but found themselves in a spot with no courses to be taken. That's the exclusive scenario that I'm speaking to, because otherwise, the board, in its wisdom, when the regs were promulgated, I'm sure they thought about these situations, and hence why we have this section of the regulation. So I just wanted to probe that a little bit.
Okay, so here is an upcoming petition for a waiver. I was busy with COVID and I just forgot to pay my annual fee. That's one. A second one. My mail goes to my ex-wife's home and I didn't receive my notice, and I want a waiver. Those are two that have been filed so far. This is a case-by-case basis, and I believe that if you want to do this, first of all, I don't think that the Executive Order 41 allows you to do it. It says that licenses that have to be extended after July 10th must be complied with. But you know,
it does not take.
and the other thing is, how are you going to logistically? Do you really think that Barbara can email? And it's not going to be 60 people. I don't know how many it'll be. I do know that COVID has impacted people's ability to take courses. But I think that there were some people who were just counting on October being the date. They didn't count on the government reopening and saying you have to get your license.
Here's another thing: is that once executive order was before it was rescinded, what was the thought process? Before 41,
it ended in July 30th.
Yeah, before July
30th.
The first executive order extended licenses 90 days out from April 30th, which was, no, I'm sorry, 90 days out from the date of the executive order, which was May 18th. So anybody who fell in that renewal period, meaning they had, 90-day extensions and or their licenses came up for renewal on April 30th, they were automatically, I have a list of them, they were automatically extended to August 18th, which was 90 days from the old order.
Okay, but the August 18th arbitrary date, Chris. People got confused about August 18th and what it meant.
I understand that fact, but that was what the executive order said, 90 days out from the executive order, and that was 90 days out from the executive order. Yeah. And I had to put a date into the database. So
yeah,
right.
Well,
I'd like to, I apologize, but I want to see if Chris, do we have any incoming comments from the public? And I know with the board is still deliberating, and we need to give priority to the board members to express, and then we will have others weigh in.
Yeah, so far, other than the ones that I read to you before, Wes just commented how many of the 63 are for non-payment, but I don't think we would have that answer yet.
That's right.
And
Right,
David,
and
you weigh in.
This is Debbie. I mean, I think that's a really important point, that we're talking about renewal of the 3-year renewal of the license is one thing, and lack of courses, and then the other thing is the payment of the fees. Right. So I think we really need to know which are in each camp, because I think we can't weigh the payment of the fees, and that might be a majority of this 91.
Right. Thank you, Debbie. In a nutshell, I think the petition for waivers, or just putting aside that petition, there are things that the board can and cannot do, and waiving any fees is definitely something that is not within the authority and powers of the board. That's in a different bucket. I want to circle back to Farouk's scenario, which is party has financial wherewithal ability to pay for the fee, but has been challenged with being able to take a course, and that's precluding the party the ability. So is that a scenario that falls within the 63 number 63 LSPs that will find themselves in a situation of July 30th and no renewal?
But they can,
well,
that camp can avail themselves with a 90-day extension anyway, right?
That's right. And I have not received one, and I haven't looked today, but I have not received one email from an LSP who indicated that they were economically disadvantaged by COVID to the degree that they could not pay for courses or pay their fee. someone may still send that request to me, but thus far I haven't received it.
Okay, thank you, Beverly.
Beverly, what about timely payment of the fee because of issues of mail delivery?
I mean, well, if that's the case, then why don't we let this guy who didn't change his address and his mail went to his wife's house and his daughter gave it to him late? How will you distinguish between the cases is all I'm saying, Mark. You know, if you're going to take however many people did not make that deadline, I think you need to balance it against those who do.
Well, again, I'll just repeat that these are extraordinary circumstances, and it's simply not normal for that number of individuals to not get their paperwork and fees in. So there must be some misunderstanding. My sense would be that they should show more personal responsibility about their license, but that's easy to say, but there may be something going on with these other individuals. They simply don't understand that their licenses are not extended. And I think the board needs to get out and get that information out to people. And obviously LSPA is going to be doing that now that they have up-to-date information, but I think the board should be sending out some kind of communication and let them know if you don't get your fee in, you're not going to get waived.
Well, it's incumbent on LSPs to know that they have to renew every 3 years. That's part of the bargain. When your license expires,
no question about that.
When your license expires, your driver's license, your car registration, it's incumbent. The police don't come to you except to give you a ticket when you don't renew. So we have to wait until July 30th, technically, to see who can't meet those deadlines.
So I think
because people do have available, as Jamie has said, as I have said, a request. Nothing is stopping them from asking for a 90-day extension, and they know that.
Here's something that I wanted just to put things into perspective. Okay, the fee is $100. It is not small, but it is not $250 or $1,000. It's $100 fee. So LSPs are paying fee is one thing. It is not the deal breaker here. The deal breaker here, if I were to guess what it is, it's going to be that they may not have enough credit to apply for it.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest challenge there is.
I agree. I agree.
Out of the 63 people left, if there was a large majority of them that had a problem with the renewal, I think we would have heard from them by now.
You think?
Which again argues for what I was saying, that they have misunderstood what the requirement is. And I think it argues that the board should be doing some waiver for these individuals that are in this circumstance as long as they get their fees in. But they need to be told, you need to do this.
Okay.
So
you know what you're proposing is probably a good idea, but unless Barbara can do it, it can't be done because I can't do it. Now, we'll have to see. We used to have an LSP listserv, but we don't have that anymore where we had all of the LSPs. But I'll tell you, I have a problem with giving people a waiver or a pass before the due date has even arrived.
We're not. That's not what's being asked.
I'm saying that. That's what I'm saying, because until the 30th, and they still have a means to get a 90-day extension, and what would that bring them to? If they got a 90-day extension for July 30th, Wouldn't
So-
that almost put them into October?
It's October 30th.
I mean,
It'll be 90 days from July 30th.
Okay, thank you, Chris. There you go.
So I think I just want to.
So the solution for people who can't meet the 30th deadline, which Governor Baker imposed, not the board, Governor Baker imposed it. I mean, are their licenses valid if the governor says it's not? The other thing is, we don't know whether or not they can meet the deadline until the 30th.
Beverly, I think what I would like to at least not let it be lost in our thoughts here is that we should have a plan A, the board should, between now and the 30th, because today,
Like what?
the last time that we're meeting, the next meeting is and I think we should have some clear pathway for any LSP that finds themselves in a situation that, with good cause showing, they may need to avail themselves to a petition for a waiver. So at least I want to, we're not trying to predispose or act on before the 30th, but we do need a plan so that we together as a board can start, can deliberate today on what's the pathway for folks like, for example, that don't have the credits. They have the money to pay the fee. They're willing to put in their application, except the application is not one that speaks to having all of the credits that are warranted for a renewal. We need to provide a compliance pathway.
To Greg's point about perhaps if there's some people that misunderstand or not aware or have not gotten their mail or all those types of things, there's nothing precluding us from doing a little additional outreach given the circumstances. So is there any reason we couldn't send an email blast to those individuals that are due in July to whatever email we have on file saying, please understand your renewal is due July 30th, and if you're not prepared to renew, you need to get an extension in, just so we can say we've done a little additional outreach to try to make sure we capture those folks.
Yeah, along that point, Wendy just posted regarding what Greg just said about the LSPA putting out info. The LSPA is hesitant to summarize the outcomes of this conversation, so that is why we would like the LSP board to write something instead.
Well, as an LSPA member, I would like Wendy to send it out to all those board members. That's beside the point here. I agree that.
Okay, well.
Let Greg finish.
The board should be doing something.
Go ahead, Greg.
I agree that the board should be doing something. Do we have the ability to waive the number of courses that you have prior to requesting your 90-day extension?
No.
That's the way that I believe it reads in 2.12 petitions for waivers.
If we have that ability, I would like to see us waive that requirement so that those that are in the circumstance that Farouk has been describing can get their extension in.
I mean, the board has to requires the LSP holding the license to demonstrate why the petition is within the authority of the board. I mean, and again, we cannot accept something that comes in, as Beverly has described. We cannot waive fees or waive any kind of rule of professional conduct. I'm just looking at this thing. I mean, I was wrestling with the universe of LSPs that may get caught in this situation, because in my mind, only one clear example is maybe no credits to be had or courses to be had because we had a COVID hiatus. So I see a very slim universe, but nonetheless, it's a universe that I think as board chair, I feel uncomfortable not addressing. And often I can tell you as a DEP employee, not in capacity of chair, when we have big actions that may impact the LSP community or the potential responsible parties at a site because there's been a reg change or a policy change, we try the compliance assistance approach prior to, you know, any kind of direct immediate action on a promulgated rule. So makes me wonder, Beverly, you've done a lot of thinking about this, and I know that you have articulated EO 41 very well. And I'm wondering whether it's during this discussion or maybe when we enter executive session, if we can just together collectively draft a message and put it on along, you know, as you noted, on the splash banner, and then hit, you know, click, and here is a little bit more. And I think that would go a long way to represent the spirit of the board, which is to assist LSP like.
I don't know what else you could say, but if you think there's something as board members that should be added to the website, I'm willing to take a look at it.
Okay, thank
Are
you.
we allowed as a board to provide an extension to those who are unable to get a 90-day extension in by July 30th?
Again,
I don't know.
Because what I can tell you is if we get to July 30th and 40 of those 60 LSPs are no longer LSPs because they misunderstood, that's going to be a problem. And
we are,
it's not,
well, it's not that they will not be LSPs. It means that they have to make the correction. You have to look at the 3.06 and the regulations under 5, subpart 5, subpart 6, to see what happens if you fail to renew, because the regs clearly spell out what happens if you fail to renew. You actually have a year to come back in.
yes, I understand that, but you're taking off EDEP.
Okay.
You're taking
Right.
off EDEP. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. You're still an LSP.
Yeah, you're taking off EDEP. You're absolutely, you can't make submittals, absolutely.
That will be a significant problem. And these are
Yeah.
unprecedented times. I mean, we can, some people are going to get a free lunch. I agree. But for the lion's share of these folks, we have to be a little bit more accommodating.
I disagree.
Just to think about it.
The governor decided that anybody who has to renew.
No, we can make decision ourselves. Yep. Like Greg hasn't been to office in 6 months, 5 months once, right, Greg? How many times did Mark, you've been in the office? Once, maybe. Once. Yes. How many times did you been to office, Beverly? If you look, I've been to office almost every day.
How many times did you just ask me that?
Yes. You know, you haven't been to office.
Let me answer. I was in the office Saturday, and for the past 3 Sundays in June out of 4, I was in the office working on board meeting materials.
So altogether,
hold on, one last part. Barbara is in the office every Thursday except during the protests and during her vacation week, the first week of July. Every other Thursday since COVID, she's been in the office.
So what Mark is saying there is, if from now and 30th, the folks that are going to apply for renewal do not have that 12 credit, less than 12 credit, 12 and less credit, less, then those folks are going off the EDP. Okay, it is nothing. At least a lion's share of those folks got into this trouble not because they chose to do it, but because it happened. There were a whole lot of classes that got canceled. I know that because I signed up into a few of them, and they were all canceled because it won't happen. in person. Online classes started to come in, and a lot of those folks may not have taken the online classes. So that 12 credit, if we can somehow make some kind of an arrangement that that 12 credit is not a barrier for them to reapply, that will go a long way.
So
that's the 90-day extension, Farouk. What you're talking about is the 90-day extension, which would actually give them a longer period of time if they apply for the 90-day extension.
To apply for 90-day extension, they need to have 12 or less credit required, right? Some of those folks may have more than that missing.
I know, but we can't surmise that. You know, my thing about this is that you can't apply two different rules to one set of people. So if you're going to say, fine, you guys did the right thing and complied, you at least have to make the ones who do not or who are unable to comply petition for a waiver. You can't just say, oh, I know you were in the COVID. You don't know anything.
Well, here's
and
where
I've got to tell you, there are a few bad apples in every bunch.
So this is what I want to propose.
I'll just leave it right there.
Let me propose something for the board to think about. Right now, we have got 12 credit or less, at least to have to apply for the extension. Can we somehow make it flexible that it is not just 12, it could be more than that, and then they can still apply for that 90-day, and they have to do it in next 7 days.
I believe we have that authority. I believe so. I mean, the short answer, I think, is, you know, we've been focusing about our powers through 3.067, and they give you some good authority, guidance, you know, authority language with regards to issuing extensions. We talked about the 90-day extension, but the bottom line is, separately, the board has very strong authority to grant extensions under the 2.12. Again, so long as they're not involving fee matters, which cannot be waived, or professional conduct issues, which cannot be waived. But we may waive any other requirements that precluded that very, I hope, small subgroup of LSPs that are finding themselves in the situation that you described, Farouk.
So here's something that, again, I think we should all think about it carefully, okay? Board has met today. Board is not meeting until August, right?
Exactly.
The 30th comes in. If somebody is not able to apply just because they have got 12 or more credit less, no, short, then that person will go off EDEP, by the way. So if that's the only reason why they could not apply for extension, is can we just provide them that we will not hold that against them?
They will need to petition to the board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What happens if someone submits a petition for waiver between now and July 30th? We obviously won't meet again to look at that petition until August, or are they still kicked off EDP, or do they stay on until the board is able to review the petition?
This is my understanding. Currently, they stay on EDEP.
No.
If they pay their $100 fee,
no,
and their application contains less than 12 of short courses, they stay on EDEP.
No. Again, no. If unless I get word from the LSP board that this person has done whatever the board decides this person needs to do to change their expiration date they will no longer be able to submit on EDEP because I physically have to go into the Epics database and I have to change their expiration date. Now,
Well,
that being said, again, it's a board decision. For whatever reason, if the board tells me this person gets a 90-day extension, whether they they needed more credits than they had to actually do it in regulation, but they did pay the fee, or whatever the circumstances, it's up to you. If you tell me move that date, I will. If you don't tell me, that expiration date stays the same, and they will, after July 30th, they will no longer be able to submit on EDEP.
that's correct.
Chris,
and what?
Beverly, go ahead.
Let me get clarification here from Chris.
Let's see what Beverly has to say, and then Farouk, and then Millie will weigh in too.
Yeah.
Beverly.
Chris is correct. And what I do if I get a petition for a waiver because they are submitted to me, we table it and we tell Chris. Either I will email Chris, or Barbara will email Chris saying, hang on, pardon me, keep this LSP active until we resolve this particular issue, which is exactly what Chris just said. He gets notice from us to administratively allow people to remain online with EDEP. The dockets that we're going to approve today will go to Chris, and he will change the dates according to what we tell him. His database, EDEP, is fed through the LSP board. So if we tell him to hold something in abeyance because we have a petition for a waiver, or because we mistakenly said someone didn't pay, or we're waiting for a payment, a check that went to the wrong place, or documents, just a myriad of things that LSPs come up with in terms of circumstance, we can tell Chris, keep that person active.
Okay. That was very helpful.
That's going to answer the question I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, that was very helpful. And so let me just see if we can arrive at two potential scenarios.
I've got a question actually here.
Okay.
Just
go ahead.
from a standpoint. Normally, the board does not meet in July, right? So
well, that's one of my suggestions, and we'll get into that in a minute.
No. Normally, board does not meet in July. So anybody who wants to submit their extension in a normal year would submit it before the June meeting. All the application that comes in July, no, they are not acted by the board. Under the regulation, as long as the extension request comes in before the 30th of July, that's all that matters as long as the application is complete. That person's name should not be taken off of the EDEP. By law, it cannot be done.
Again, I don't take anybody off.
Let me finish. When the board meets and approves it, just basically at that point, something else happens. But from regulatory standpoint, when the person submits it 30th, as long as they submit 30th of July, it is a valid request, and until the board acts on it, it should be respected.
It seems to me
that you still have to, this is Debbie, understand that Beverly and Barbara are doing the administrative approval in between meetings.
Yes.
The board confirms the action, so people stay on EDEP before we act on it. So I think your example doesn't really hold, because the board is confirming the dockets at these meetings, but Beverly and Barbara are administrative approving it to Chris.
Yes.
So nobody's coming on because you don't meet, or nobody's going on because you don't meet. It's the staff
that's right.
doing that work.
Yeah,
That's what we do.
what
Go
happens
ahead,
is
Chris.
before you guys meet, before every one of your monthly meetings, when Beverly and Barbara produce the docket that you then vote on your meeting, I usually get that docket 1 or 2 weeks before your meeting. I go in and according to that docket, I take everyone on the list and I move their dates up. Then what happens is you guys approve the docket and say, yes, this is all good. That's good. Everybody, because when you're voting on them, they're still active LSPs because you're voting before the 30th of the month. You see what I'm saying? So there's never a point where I'm extending somebody that shouldn't be extended, because after your board meeting, if you come up and say, no, this docket isn't approved, this person, and this person shouldn't have had their licenses extended, and you decide that on the 15th of the month, I get a notification from Beverly saying these 3 people that were on the docket, we've decided we're not advancing their license. I go back into Epics before the 30th of that month, and I roll the dates back so that they still can submit on EDEP up until the 30th, which was their original renewal date. So there is a continuity. There's never a time where someone, as long as I get notification, there's never a lapse between someone's upcoming renewal date and them not being able to submit on EDP. The only time that happens is if, you know, every once in a while someone's name gets forgotten. I mean, human error happens all the time, that kind of a thing. And somebody will say, oh, I can't submit on EDP, and I'll go in and I'll make sure that, yes, they were on the list. Yes, their renewal date should be further out. So even though you guys don't meet in July, I get a July renewal document. And so I look at that document and I say, okay, these people proactively, this should be their new date. If anything changes, I go back in and I roll them back.
And also, and that's Chris is exactly right. And this is the way we operate internally. So this is why you get a new renewal docket form at the board meetings, because the renewal docket is continuously updated. And every time it's updated, Chris or someone on his staff gets the update or the new name. So if Beverly Roby is the only person who submitted something this week, Barbara or I will send an email saying, keep Beverly Roby active. So it's an ongoing process, and it's a running list of people who are active. We administratively approve people before the board actually votes.
Yes, so that's exactly the fine-tune point where I wanted to go, because the docket we see is the docket that has gone through the administrative checklist to ensure that the monies were paid and filed. I think you've talked about DOER in the past. You've talked about how these individuals have the credits, and if they don't, they ask for a normal extension. So I think what we see is what's ready for the board to vote on. So, and that's a continuous process, and we thank you for that. I want to focus again on the heart of the conversation, which is to reconcile at least a pathway for the up to potential worst case scenario, 63 individuals or 61, I lose count, the delta of the LSPs that are not in front of us for action today. And so today being July 22nd, and the expectation that there's some resolution now the 30th. And I guess the LSP Association is on the phone. They will do their outreach to compel LSPs to put in their paperwork before the 30th. So I'm with Jamie and Farouk and Greg and others that we could probably come to some information for further describing on the board's webpage. I only see 2 potential options to reconcile the universe of 62 and change. One is more painful than the other. and predicated on people's availability. So one could be that we meet again before the 30th to evaluate the petitions and act on the petitions for waivers. Not attractive, but nonetheless an option.
Well, if you're going to conduct board business, you have to have a full public meeting. So there has to be an agenda. It has to be posted with the Secretary of State's office. You have to comply with the open meeting law. There's no in between.
So there's no emergency power for the board to convene between the 30th?
Nope. Not under the open meeting law, not without, you have to hold a public meeting. We have to go through the same process that we're going through today in order to do that. You can't do it.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Did we not just confirm that if a petition for waiver came in before July 30th and after this meeting, that they would not be kicked off of EDP? Didn't we just?
Right.
That's of the conversation, you're spot on. So putting everyone in a so-called presumptive petition for waiver approval status until we meet again on August 11, 2020. But again, that would be, I think, the only other avenue.
Yeah, but they have to ask for the.
Yes, understood.
They have to ask, but yeah, we hold it in, if there is a petition pending, we hold the license in abeyance. We don't cut them off until after the petition is heard and ruled on.
Yeah.
Emily, do you mind if I try and condense this conversation into like a little bit of a soundbite here?
Thank you for indulging. I think
Please.
everybody wanted to hear everyone, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so. In fact, Jamie, if you could kindly condense it, A and B, identify some action items so I can corroborate those action items with my list.
Yeah, I think what's important and what the LSPA is asking for, that we really give a very black and white clarification of what folks who have a renewal date on July 30th options are, right? So this is what this is my summary. In accordance with the governor's executive order number 41, if you have a renewal due on July 30th, there is not an extension. The board cannot waive the fee by statute. You must submit either your renewal application or a 90-day extension request with your fee by July 30th. If you cannot meet either requirement, you may submit a petition for waiver again by July 30th. Is that all accurate?
Crystal clear.
It is good.
Yep.
But
And then,
even with the waiver, the request for waiver, you have to have paid your fee. And so that should be stated that in any case, your fee must be paid.
Okay, so add fee to that last part of the statement as well. But I think that really that gives, it makes it very clear what the three options are. Each one of those options gives them a path to keeping their license and staying active on EDP until we're able to meet in August and go through petitions for waivers and extension requests, etc.
That is correct.
Reasonable?
Yes. And Jamie, would you kindly also cite 309 CMR 2.12? Because I think the LSPs really need to read that citation and make sure that they're in adherence with the intent. That way it's a level playing field and it's keeping with compliance with the regulation.
Is that the fee? Is that the reference to the fee?
That's the reference to the petition for waivers.
Oh, okay.
To follow up on this communication, how is this communication going to get out there? Who's going to send it? How timely? And for them to submit their waiver request back, is it postmarked by the 30th or does it have to be received by the 30th?
It has to, well, any request for action on your license pursuant to the regs has to be, if you're asking for a 90-day extension, it has to be while your license is still valid, which means that it has to be on or before close of business on July 30th. Whether you're asking for a 90-day extension, and this is in the regs, you have to do it on or before July 30th. And the same would seem to me to apply to a petition for waiver, because if you file something after July 30th, you're filing something with an invalid license.
Correct.
So
That
that's
is
the
a
post
key
date you're talking
message.
about, right? It is the post date.
Postmark date of the 30th or earlier.
That's what it's mean.
Yep. Jamie, are you going to draft? Maybe you can type up what you just read. And
No, I'll write it. No, Jamie
the
doesn't.
next one. So if we,
No.
well, okay, so
I guess what I wanted to get at it, if that seems clear to everyone, if we could have that, given time is of the essence, sort of
Yes.
immediately posted on the website, we can, then that way the LSPA can cite it and broadcast it.
Go ahead, Jamie. What is it? What?
Now, can you repeat it so we
again?
can codify it, circulate it?
Oh,
Okay. Here goes.
Jesus. Jesus.
All right. So, in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 41, if you have a renewal due by July 30th, there is no extension. The board cannot waive the fee by statute. You must submit either your renewal application or a 90-day extension request with your fee by July 30th. If you cannot meet either requirement, you may submit a petition for waiver with your fee in accordance with 309 CMR, what was the reference, 12?
212.
Does that work?
Yep, got it.
Yes. So now that we got to yes on the messaging, I just want to give another chance to the board. Everybody agrees with that message? Do I hear yes from the board members?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to say that it has to be postmarked like Mark had said?
The only problem with that, and that's a legal standpoint, which is fine, but if I don't physically get the request, meaning it's postmarked by the 30th, but for some reason I don't get it until August 2nd, or I don't get notified of the request by August 2nd, legally it stands, but from the 30th to the 2nd, that person won't be able to submit.
They're locked out at midnight.
Yeah.
They're locked out at, but that's why they have to get it in before the 30th, on or before close of business on the 30th. Otherwise, they're not requesting that the board act on a valid license.
All right, well, let's get the message out then. I would even suggest that it's worth if I wouldn't think it would be too difficult to call the email addresses of this affected group of LSPs and send this information directly as a matter of doing some additional outreach in this unusual time.
Yeah, well, I don't know who you think is going to make 60-some calls. The phone numbers are not always available. The physical files, hold on. The physical files are in the office, Jamie. So all we have are electronic files. I'll have to see what information Barbara has. I'm not saying that we can't do it or won't do it. I'm saying that we have to see whether or not we have the information to do it.
Well, the LSP database, the in-house database, the one you guys update and that is used to update the website of active LSPs, that is a SQL Server database that I used to have control of. I don't anymore. That actually I might have to take up with you, Beverly, at a later point, because that's something I could do. If I had access to the data tables, it would be very easy for me to whip up a quick query saying, everybody that has a expiration date of July 30th, give me their name, address, email, and I could create an email blast in I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. But
So
I don't
Yeah,
have,
well,
So the
That's
I'll,
my
board,
that,
proposal.
I'll have to,
the board respectfully
I'll,
requests that we pursue that avenue as outreach to the LSP community. We need them to make
well,
sure that.
like I said, I'll do the best I can. I don't know what we have. Barbara doesn't work for me full time. You all know that I'm the only staff person.
Understood.
So
We just are looking to add Jamie.
I'm gonna get that notice posted. I already said that. I'm gonna get exactly the language that Jamie gave and that the board agreed on, posted hopefully before noon tomorrow.
Thank you. We appreciate that sincerely. And I think on the matter, of course, with regards to data access, we really appreciate Beverly, if you can at least engage with Chris. You guys are a dynamic duo, and you've been able to help us navigate through the databases. So we appreciate that. And clearly, just a word to the LSPs out there that you need to be proactive and make sure that now that you know, or at least the association knows, the board is trying to do the best we can to ensure that there is a pathway during these exigent times.
So not to belabor this any longer because it's almost sunset, I have a different opinion. I think there's probably not a lot of LSPs who don't have the 36 credits who may be asking for the 90-day extension. The pandemic's just been in the last 5 months of a 3-year renewal period, and every webinar for credit that I've been on in the last 4 months has had hundreds of participants.
I agree, David.
I can't speak to the finances of paying for these webinar courses, but there's been a lot of CEUs available and a lot of people are home and are attending these webinars and online courses.
No, definitely, David.
And there's also precedent. The board has never, and I understand that it presents a unique situation, but there are people sitting on this call who are board members who have July 30th renewal, for whom we have received their fees and paperwork. You know, it's just a matter of getting things done. And I know that COVID has never occurred before, and there are going to be people who, for certain reasons, couldn't make those deadlines. But as a general rule, the board extend licenses because there weren't enough DEP courses.
Yeah, for the record,
So can we just maybe just in the interest of time, I think everybody has had fair play and opportunity for discussion. And I everybody's point of view. And clearly, I think through the actions of the board, you know, between arriving at a message that we agree and that it will be posted by noon tomorrow, in addition to Beverly having a conversation with Chris and the possibility of an email blast. I just want to say that we don't know what the circumstances are for people financially or otherwise. And we cannot be accused of not trying to extend a compliance pathway. So with that, I'd like to move forward with the work in front of us. We have a little bit more to go. So if we don't have any objections, I'd like for us to start re-up on the discussion for 5A, which basically deals with voting on the renewal dockets.
Before we jump into that,
yes,
my personal situation that you guys were so helpful with in June about giving me a voting to extend my license beyond July 30th, because I was a half credit short, but I had the credit, so I submitted the credit once I got the CEU form, and I'm all set, so I don't need the 90-day extension. I would like myself to be added to the renewal docket for a July 30th renewal, if that's possible.
Doesn't that stuff have to be, I mean, nothing against you, Kathy. It's just, I'm not sure we can add it unless Beverly says we can, just based on that. She'd have to have this in front of her, I think.
I emailed Kathy about this. I don't know what the board did was grant her a 90-day extension. Kathy submitted her, and Kathy, you step in if I'm misspeaking. Kathy submitted her application to renew the license, and she was short a credit. Barbara caught that she was short a credit and put her on the 90-day list. So in June, the board voted to give her a 90-day extension. The course that she needed was approved at the June 9th meeting. So the issue is she now has a 90-day extension and must pay an additional fee unless the board votes to take her 90-day extension away.
By rescinding that vote.
Yeah, can I ask the question why, if she's completed the requirements, why isn't that reflected in the renewal dockets? One of the renewal dockets, I don't know which one, but.
She wants to be.
Because she's on the 90-day extension list from last month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but she submitted it, so doesn't that mean it's taken away? And it would be on here saying she's completed all the requirements?
I think we need to codify it, no?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be written someplace that whatever the pathway is, it needs to be written down, because it sounds like if she submitted it, she would be.
She should be on docket number 1.
Yes.
But she has to pay the additional fee.
Why?
Because the regulations require a 90-day extension costs an additional fee.
Oh, because she submitted the request.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
She did. No, hold on.
Without submitting a request.
Kathy submitted her application to renew license. She thought she had all the credits. When the application was administratively reviewed, she was found to be short. The course that she needed was approved at the June 9th meeting, but when we get applications and you're short credit or you've added them incorrectly, we automatically give you a 90-day extension and you get a letter saying your 90-day extension was approved. You have 90 days to get these credits. The board, we automatically do it.
Okay.
Beverly had suggested that the board could rescind that vote.
I don't know that they can. I'm just saying that's the only way that you can come off the 90-day extension list and not pay the fee.
Kathy, it's almost like I think you'd have to request that you come off that. Right? I mean, you'd have to make a request. I want to come off that 90-day extension because I completed my requirements before the renewal period ended.
I make a motion to approve docket 1 with Kathy Campbell added to it.
That would be the simplest.
Why not?
What's
your license?
First of all, no, because problem. She's on the board, and that creates the impropriety. I'm sorry. I think that's not
right.
appropriate.
Or that's one person's opinion.
Treated differently than everybody else.
So I already submitted that request on June 30th when I included my CEU form that I'd just gotten for the course that had just been approved in June that I had taken in April. So I requested saying, having met the requirements in time, I would prefer my renewal be July 30th, 2023 instead of the board approved 90-day extension.
Well, can I just say something?
Your renewal date will be July 30th, 2023, Kathy. As I said in my email, that doesn't change. Even with the 90-day extension, according to the regulations 3.06, I forget which subpart it is, 90-day extension, your original renewal date you'll get. It's the fee part of it. And what I said was, I don't know that I can undo a board vote.
Wait.
Board...
Can I just back up for a second? She never requested she never actually requested the extension. And I believe that's probably something that would have to happen somewhere because she got her stuff in before the deadline. So she didn't need it. She never needed an extension because she got her stuff in before the deadline. So that extension doesn't apply to her.
But I think she put it in as a safeguard.
Yes. And so I just want to say it doesn't, I mean, I think the thing is Kathy's information was into the board before her renewal deadline ended. And I can guarantee you from information I have that there are other people that have submitted their documents that aren't on that list, that renewal docket. So there are probably plenty of people out there who have submitted stuff. It just hasn't been processed yet. And so,
well, the other part of it is it's not the people who you can't speculate, Gail, on who's not on the list. Kathy is an exception, and we need to make a decision about that. But it's also the fees which we get from revenue. So this is a bifurcated decision that's made. It's not just on the paperwork. It's also on whether or not we get information from revenue that the fees have been paid. We don't send Chris anything unless we have both of those components fulfilled.
But
so I know what you're.
I think there's a delay.
Go ahead.
I just say that there's a delay in getting the information that people have sent in hasn't been processed yet, but it's still not the end of the month. And so there are going to be plenty of people that probably get their stuff in on time that aren't going to need extensions. So we can't go granting extensions. It was like premature to grant Kathy an extension because hers wasn't due yet. She would get the extension on the 31st or the 30th or whatever.
I know, but that's not the way we work. We work on the receipt of paperwork. When you submit the paperwork, even if it's not due until July 30th, it's submitted for review.
That's fine.
When it's submitted for review, just because it's not due doesn't mean that we don't look at it for administrative completeness.
No, that's fine. And then you tell them, and then they should have, if they get it in early enough, then they have the chance to get it in before the due date. And they shouldn't need an extension.
So can I just ask, by way of practicality, that, you know, there should not be a problem with her being included in the, we need to undo the vote, but I think, is there a disconnect fee-wise? And I think that's a question that only Beverly can answer.
Well, but here's the thing. I don't think you can treat Kathy differently because Kathy is a board member, and there'll be appearance of impropriety if she gets to do something that nobody from the public can do.
Okay, that's fair.
Add it to the docket for the next meeting with the July.
That's what I'm saying. And there'll be plenty of other people who have the July 30th renewal date on that docket.
Okay, so do we have a motion here? Request denied.
She didn't make any formal request. It's not formal.
Is this, it came about by way of we were about to start discussing renewal docket 1, and this came into the forefront. So how would you like for the board to be responsive to that discussion?
Well, do we have
if you are going to, the board has to decide whether or not it's going to rescind the vote or what it's going to do about her being on the 90-day list. The other part of it is she will not suffer any adverse consequences by being on the August docket, because a lot of people clearly are going to be on the August 11th docket from July 30th.
Okay, so
and again, I just want to say to everybody Gail's point is valid. Just because you're on the board, because you're active on the president of the LSPA, no offense, Michelle, I'm just using you as a common example, doesn't mean that you get to do things that other people don't do.
Yep, that's understood.
That's understood.
Yep. So in that spirit, I am not in favor of rescinding the vote, and I'm wondering, I'm just going to put a motion out there that we keep the decision as status quo with an opportunity for Kathy to present her case at the August meeting.
I don't think we voted yet.
We haven't. We're trying to formulate
Right.
for you to vote on.
Right. Right.
So, I basically, so in front of us, we have the motion to stay the vote as we basically voted during the last meeting we had in June, and have Kathy come to the board in August.
Well, she's going to be on. She's going to be on the August docket for sure because she has completed her requirement. So she absolutely will be on the docket for having completed it. It's just a matter of whether she'll be on the 90-day docket or on the regular docket.
So currently, she resides in the 90-day docket, and the motion is for her to stay in the 90-day docket.
No, that isn't. No, I actually don't think she belongs there. And I think she should write.
That's what we gave her. That's what we gave her in June.
No, but I'm saying, but she didn't really request it, and she had her information in by her deadline. So I don't think she should have to pay the fee either.
Okay, here's the solution. Okay, here's the solution. Hold on, because we got to get through a lot more.
Gail, we took a.
Okay, so, Kathy, what you should do is for August, you'll be on the docket for having completed all your requirements. What you can do, well, I don't know about that because it's a waiver of fees. I don't know, but you can write a petition for waiver and ask to be removed from the 90-day docket.
But I did that on June 30th by email to the board.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's been done. I mean,
I've made that request.
I don't have that in. I mean, I don't think that was part of the docket, was it?
It wasn't. It wasn't sent. It wasn't sent.
To the board members?
No, it wasn't sent to the board members.
So, I mean, I apologize, but I can't opine if
That's why I said you can vote on it on August 11th, but the petition will go out. But it's what Kathy, you'll see. You need to see it. I agree with Maria. I'm sorry. I agree with Millie. You need to see it and take a vote. And we'll just hold it in abeyance until the August 11th meeting.
Okay,
and
that's fair.
I'll send out all the documents on Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated. All right. So we're going to move forward with renewal docket number 1.
Make a motion to approve docket number 1.
Second.
All in favor? Let's go through the roll call. So what's in front of us is approval. Gail?
Excuse me? Did you call me?
Do we want to go with all in favor? Would you like for me to do the roll call?
We have to do the roll call.
You have to do a roll call vote, Millie.
Let's call the roll. Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Farouk?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kirk? Kirk?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Millie's a yes.
Make a motion to approve docket number 2.
Yes, I
Is
do
there
have
one?
a question. I have a question on docket number 2, real quick. When it's the new renewal date of October 28th, is that 28 or is that 30?
That's a 90-day extension.
90-day extension.
So it's an odd date. So they have to, these people have requested a 90-day extension, so their license is extended until October 28th, 2020, and they had a renewal date of June 30th. So once they complete the requirement on or before October 28th, their new renewal date will be July 30th, 2023.
Thank you, sorry, my computer's running out of battery.
That's where the October 28th date came in. 90 days from July 30th, October 28th.
Perfect. So,
So Chris Borges will be looking to hear from us on or before October 28th. Otherwise, these people on docket number 2 will be cut off.
okay, so let's,
Let's see, we had a motion to approve. I'll second it.
Okay. Docket 2, roll call.
Oh, I
okay.
think we might have just lost Millie.
No, I just came back, I'm sorry. Can you see me now?
Can hear you. Okay, there you
Sorry.
There you are.
I have run out of juice, that's why, my apologies. All right, so, Gail,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Farouk,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and Millie is a yes. Okay, we're gonna move forward with renewal docket number 3. They have completed the requirements within the first year. And so the new renewal date is July 30, 2023. We have 3 of them. I move to adopt and approve this renewal docket.
I second.
Second.
Thank you. All right, let's do the roll call. Gail,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Farouk,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk, Kirk,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Millie, yes. Okay, renewal docket is a little different, and I had a little bit of a tough time trying to evaluate it, so I could really use some assistance here. It speaks to one LSP that had a renewal date of January 30, 2020, and the new renewal date is stated as April 29. Now have requested a 90-day extension. I was not sure when that extension was made. I did not see it in the prior packets, so I could really use a little bit of assistance here to decipher this one.
So Mr. Stromberg would have requested a 90-day extension on or before January 30th, which would have put his new renewal date at January 29th.
And that's still outside the COVID time frame.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So that's
So-
why I'm having a little bit of pause and reflection on
So,
how to,
well, he lawfully requested a 90-day extension in January, which would have put his renewal date at April 29th. By April 29th, Executive Order number 9 was in place. So he's basically capitalizing. His license does not need to be renewed until October 1st.
Right. That
But
was my
that's-
thought.
Yep, but that's where the odd dates come in. The
I
new
guess-
renewal dates, those are
I guess my only
90-day
confusion-
extensions.
Why wasn't this on like the January or February or whatever docket? Why are we seeing it now? I guess that's what's.
'cause
I don't know. I'll look and see if I can. Mr. Stromberg is someone who I have been in touch with personally. So you can hold on while I look for the January
I couldn't find it.
renewal docket. I don't know. But I have been in touch with him for some reason or another. I don't know. I have to take a look. But if he is on the list, he must have requested a subsequent 90-day extension, which he's entitled to anyway, because he was renewing in April. And I don't know off the top of my head why
Right,
on this list and not on others.
yeah, I could not find him, and B, I just didn't know how it got in the docket. If we had sort of just, I assumed maybe wrongly that it's in the docket because it takes his request through the process of referring himself to COVID-19 executive order, but I just don't know.
Well,
And why he needs it. If he actually did he ever request, did we ever vote on his January request?
That's what we're looking into.
Because otherwise he doesn't need to request a renewal because it's automatic because of the COVID stuff.
So long as he falls within the time frame of the March. Yep.
If
So
his renewal date was if we had granted it, if he had filed in a timely fashion for his January renewal and we granted it, or even if we didn't, but he filed in a timely fashion and we haven't voted on it yet, then we'll vote on it now to make it official. But
Right.
that as long as it's granted to April 29th, then he doesn't have to file for a renewal because he's automatic.
I agree. We're all saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing.
Okay, I just want to make sure that one, he
Gail.
isn't asking for 2 renewals because he can't get 2 renewals.
No, the missing piece for me is understanding what happened back in January, if he was on the docket or not. I
Yeah.
couldn't find him.
Excuse
Yes.
me, he's on the docket for February,
Okay.
the docket.
So
Debbie.
we granted his renewal. It was due on the 29th. He has until October based on the COVID-19, whatever that executive order.
So in other words, this was previously approved.
Yes, so we don't need to do it. It's moot.
Okay, so are we using this docket and then providing Mr. Stromberg with confirmation that that's the path forward for him?
Yes, that would be, hey, I'll make a motion that that's what we do.
Okay,
So
and
just to repeat, he was on docket number 3 in our January meeting.
thank you, Kathy.
It's Debbie.
Oh, sorry, Debbie, my apologies. Okay, so Gail, I think I heard a motion.
Yes, I make a motion that we just let him know that he doesn't need to apply for a new renewal, that we've through that long discussion, resolved how that works out, and that he is automatically eligible to not have to renew until October.
Do we have the date certain, October 1st?
Debbie, I would just confirm that his extension was already approved too.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, sorry, that's part of it. The extension was approved on X date, and now because of the COVID-19, you have until October 1st.
Actually, is it October 1st? Correct.
And I don't think we have to vote on it. It's just clarifying
No,
the
there's
position.
no vote. We just need to clarify, in the meeting minutes that this docket disappeared for whatever reason, which we had already spoken about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do we have to just vote to say that's how we'll make it disappear or not?
I mean, this is just an administrative cleanup issue right now.
Right.
I don't think we need to vote.
I'll just say, well, I think we should say we remove it from consideration. We should vote to remove it from consideration.
Well, motion to remove from consideration.
Second.
Gail,
Aye.
Greg,
Yes.
Farouk,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Kirk,
Skip David.
Yes. Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Millie, yes. Thank you. That concludes the renewal dockets. Next, we have discussions that are germane to the application review panels. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Beverly Roby.
Okay, so application review panel 307 met regarding applications for Mr. Coates and Ms. Harvey on June 17th. Both applications were approved. They felt that they met the standard. I can go into more detail if you like, but with respect to Mr. Coates, the application review panel felt that he had enough independent decision-making authority. They felt that he met the minimum requirements. With respect to Ms. Braga Harvey, the committee felt that she had written a good application, that she had a good, diverse amount of work and lots of responsibility, and in total, she had 9 years of professional experience. So both applications were approved. Or the recommendation is that both applications be approved.
Mm-hmm.
I move we accept the recommendations of the ARP or ARP.
Second.
And I also want to thank the panel for reviewing the applications as well. So with that, we will go through the roll call. Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Millie, yes. And congratulations to Adam Cody and Stacy Harvey. Next, we want to talk about number 308, if Beverly could have.
I'll set a date to meet with the panel members, Mr. McBride, Mr. Sadiq, and Ms. Listerneck. Mr. Brochu is reapplying, so they have had to review both applications. These are the same folks who sat on the first panel. So we'll set something up before the next meeting to review the ARP 308.
Thank you very much again, Beverly and Sadiq, Greg, and Debbie for your service. Much appreciated. All right, let's move into item number 6, other licensing matters. And I would like to turn the floor over to Beverly.
There are 23 LSPs have not paid their annual fees. There are 12 LSPs who have not paid their April fees or submitted their documents, but their documents and fees are not due until October 1st, 2020. There were 27 90-day extensions in January, April, and July. 19 for January and 8 requests for extensions in July. And in July, we've had, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the report.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I could ask about the fees not paid. Fees, I assume they're not active at this time?
The 23, are you talking about the annual fees?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear Greg. The annual fees weren't subject to the COVID order. Annual fees were due March 1st, 2020. So they were not subject to Executive Order number 9. And there are going to be some petitions for review. People are saying they forgot, they didn't know, but those bills went out. Invoices were mailed regarding the annual fees in December and January. So there's kind of no excuse for paying the annual fee. And we've had 2 people who have said they're not going to renew because they have to file a limited application. They have to reapply. The non-payment of annual fees regulation is different.
Thank you.
It was helpful. Thank you. Okay, so I think we are going to be then moving forward into, and Beverly, you already covered the next page, which is sort of memorializing the total number of active LSPs here, right? 485. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to David to give us, pardon me, the exam committee, which I know last time we met was probably February.
Right, and that's on the list because I'm going to try and schedule a meeting for August or September. I have to coordinate with Chris how we're going to work out the logistics. But if you remember at the June meeting, he indicated that he has access to the materials that we need. So we're going to be scheduling, I'm going to send around a notice to schedule an exam committee meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. That sounds good. All right, so why don't we just then move into agenda number 8 with David giving us a report back.
Yeah, the continuing ed committee meeting under course approvals, 1 was tabled. We approved 8 courses, 1 with a change. And then 5 courses were approved as online on demand. And the next meeting will be in August. And we mentioned receipt of the letter from the LSPA and discuss when minutes may be available and how. And that's it.
Motion to approve the recommendations of the continuing ed committee.
Second,
The roll call, Gail,
Yes.
Greg,
yes.
Farouk,
Yes.
Mark, Mark.
Oh, he had to go.
Okay, thank you. Jamie,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Lee, yes. Okay, so that we've concluded that as a whole package. Professional Conduct Committee.
Yeah, so we did not take any votes. I believe everyone was present for the meeting, so I don't think we need to take any action.
Thank you. So let's move into item number 10, which is other business. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Beverly.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody took a look at the Attorney General's Division of Open Government newsletter. There's a spotlight, pardon me, about in-person meetings during the time of COVID. And, sorry. And I'm not going to read it. I'm going to go through it very quickly. What it says is that the governor's executive order from March 12th is still in place. And so we are not required to have meetings where people have, in public places where people have physical access. We can conduct meetings in accordance with this guidance, and virtual meetings are considered adequate. Again, I do have a question into the attorneys in the Division of Open Government about the minutes and what maintaining minutes means, because the third paragraph says that the board is required to maintain accurate meeting minutes. So we'll wait and see. And the other thing is all participants can be on the line remotely. And that's it.
I'm sorry, what was number 2 again? All
participants can be on the line remotely.
Thank you.
No, that was the last thing that I said. You said number 2?
That's what I meant to say, the second bullet. Thank you. Okay. Next, touch on Regulations Committee. I know that we did some work, I recall, in Central Region. That's the last time that I believe we talked about updating the regulations.
Yeah, I'm going to see if we can get the Regulations Committee going by September. We'll have to see. I don't know, but I'd like to get back to work on the regulations. So I'm just reporting that I hope to schedule a meeting. Just a matter remotely.
Thank you. That's much appreciated. I think, at least for me, coming up on my first year anniversary on August 14th, I would respectfully request that I be provided with the latest version of the combined revised regs so I can start reviewing them. So I'd just like to put that on the record.
I thought I sent those to you. I'll send them to you right away, Millie.
Oh, thank you. Much
Actually, if
appreciated.
you would mind, maybe if you could circulate those to everyone, because I have to dig through some serious emails to find it again, I think.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll send them out.
Perfect. That way we're on the same page using the same version. Much appreciated, Beverly.
Yeah.
And we'll be on the
Yeah.
lookout. Meeting invite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, so then next we have this letter, LSPA letter dated July 8th.
Mhm.
The letter was introduced, and at this point, I'm looking to other board members and the executive director as to how we basically conduct a conversation around this. I don't know if it's from the author of the letter or what the request that we have in front of us is asking.
I
I would
thought we talked about it.
suggest the first part was addressed in our earlier conversation about the implications as far as renewals go. So maybe we could just focus on the bullets at the end.
Okay. Would you mind reiterating that bullet? I have.
Okay, so it's key questions that the LSPA has. And so maybe Wendy, do you have any questions from Wendy, Chris, or comments from Wendy about the bullet point?
Not as of yet.
Okay. All right. Well, those are some things listed there. The only thing I know for sure is I don't know how we're going to conduct the next exam. I've got until December to figure that out. We're not allowed back in the building. 1 Winter Street is not open yet. I go in against advice. So I don't know how we're going to be able to schedule the exam.
Oh, so if
we're going to get it done because we're regulatorily obligated to give it, but I haven't figured out the logistics of it yet.
So
I just wanted to say one thing, just because I administer the exam. Technically, you have to remember, because we have the new exam software. As long as we're able to, we don't have to be at Winter Street to administer the exam because it's web-based now. So if an alternate place could be used that is approved, and we could, do social distancing and, have somebody be able to proctor the exam, all we would need would be workstations with internet access, and we have access to the test. It's no longer loaded on our network. The test is hosted by the testing software company. So basically the test can be given anywhere you have an internet signal. But again, you need to make the decision of how you're going to proctor the exam, because I could log on to the test right now from my house, but that doesn't mean it's going to be valid.
That's right. And there's also the issue, Chris, of emergencies and people not being able to log on, and us not being physically in the same place.
Well, so, again, all that stuff is handled online now. Yeah, so even if you know what I mean? Like, so my access to or the testees' access to the test and my access to the administrative part of the software is all online. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we have to use Commonwealth computers. So the legit, as I said, I know that the software that we can administer the test outside of 1 Winter Street, but that doesn't mean that we have the right computers and all of that. Again, I've got to figure it out with the commissioner.
I would like to offer that there are 3 or 4, maybe 5 other EEA boards professional licensure boards and wastewater operators. And with COVID-19 and operators getting sick with so much hands-on and, inability to keep social distancing, et cetera, there's been an uptick in the number of people that are taking the exam just to repopulate this very important essential workers. So there have been some strategies for setting up testing centers to accommodate for anyone that needs licenses. We just probably need to talk to Commissioner Suberg and find out how the other boards are going about and if there's a consideration and some parallels that and lessons learned so that we can basically follow suit with providing testing centers. And I think in preparation for the next test, and I think you had mentioned that it was probably going to be delivered sometime in December. Is that the timeline for the next test, Beverly?
I don't know. And
So-
I am in conversation with Marty about it. In fact, I believe it was the Department of Agriculture gave an exam to people who took it in their car. They took a paper exam. So I'm working with Marty on it.
Great, perfect. So I just wanted to offer that on behalf of the board.
Yeah.
Wendy asked a couple of questions. The LSPA will watch the LSP board website for a posting tomorrow, and then will then copy that for an email blast that goes out to all of their members. Number two, at this point, the LSPA suggests that this be added to the agenda for August 11th.
That what be added to the agenda?
This letter, I think. I mean, if we really want to further discuss it, I mean, it's been 4 hours. I don't think we're going to sit here and go through every single key question and concern at this point, or if we need to.
Yeah, we should probably move to the next meeting. I think there is good faith will here. Beverly's going to continue her dialogue with Commissioner Suberg. I mean, if this is specifically talking about the training centers. And I do know, again, that there are some examples, just listening to what my colleagues also serving as chairs of other boards are doing. So we will, provide that information, continue our dialogue in August. Okay, so Beverly, if you could kindly provide us with a personnel budget and fees report, that would be much appreciated.
Well, I didn't get to do what I had hoped to do during July because we had to have a board meeting. So I'm continuing to work with EEA to fill the vacant positions.
Okay.
They had hoped to have them posted in July, but now it's more likely that they'll be posted in August.
Okay. The good news is once it's posted on Mass Careers, typically there's a 14-day process that is provided for anybody who wishes to apply, and then it closes and it moves fairly fast. So thank you for pursuing that, Beverly. The board really appreciates it.
Yeah, I'd really appreciate getting some help too. So I'm on it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for moving that. Okay, that's personnel budget. Any news or fees? We've talked a little bit about fees. Beverly, anything to report on that?
No.
So the assumption is that, the Commonwealth, well, DEP at least, is still operating, with no hit as of yet, and I'm sure the commissioner speaks with others. And we will just continue to move forward with the work that's in front of us. And we will have to stay tuned on budgetary report backs as as they come, particularly during this really busy time in July, the State House and budgets. Well, that concludes our meeting. We have a future virtual meeting that's scheduled for August 11th at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. And if there are no comments or questions from anyone, I will be closing this meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, quick comment. Back to just informationally to back up to the July 30th list of renewals. While you guys were talking about these other stuff, I was able to download an Excel file with the email addresses, phone numbers, and names of all the July 30th renewal dates. I can winnie that down to only the ones that are not on the docket and import them into Outlook and share it with Beverly. So maybe within the next 2 days, we can actually email specifically those people that have a renewal date.
Oh, that would be great. Let's talk about let's talk about that, Chris, tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds good.
I just want,
I'll give you an email. I'll send you an email about it.
Perfect.
Perfect. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you for your work, Chris. We really appreciate it, just to ensure that we have the continuity and service. And thank you so much.
No problem.
Much appreciated. So with that, did the board decide that we are closing the meeting and end session, or shall we postpone the executive session for the following month? So I just wanted.
No, you need to go into executive session to talk about 05C, because I have to get back to the Assistant Attorney General. So unless you don't want to weigh in, the LSP board members who are defendants, then I'll just tell her I don't know what, but
no,
we need to talk about it.
Let's get it done.
Yep, let's conclude this public portion at 4:30 p.m. And then I assume that we will be able to join back in to basically call the executive session.
Actually, Chris, why don't you, Chris, you need to just disconnect the public portion of the meeting. And Millie, you need to indicate that we're going into executive session and the purpose.
And don't we have to do a roll call to say we're going into an executive session?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so who is going to be in on the executive session?
The executive session will be Millie. It will be Farouk. It will be Kirk. It will be Gail. It will be Greg. It will be David Austin. It will be Deb Listernick. It will be Mark Richards. And Kurt is gone. So that's that. I think that's everybody. Did I miss anyone?
Okay.
This is Kathy. I'm supposed to be on it, but I have a hard stop, so I can't actually stay on. Sorry about that. Thank you.
All right. Well, Kathy, what you should do is, if you have any comments about this, because you are an individually named defendant, you should email.
Okay, will do.
I'm on it.
Thank you.
Kirk, I'm here.
Thank you.
That's here.
Oh, hi, Kirk. Okay, so we are then. So Chris, you give us the signal. I assume that it's just the executive, the board members and Beverly only.
Well, what I'm going to do is end this meeting so that the board meeting itself is one recording, and I'm just going to send you an invite to a private meeting.
Thank you.
Everybody on this list, and you'll get it within 30 seconds.
Okay,
but we have to take the vote first to go into executive session.
Yes, so I'm hereby going to call the roll for entering into executive session. Gail.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Farouk.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
You say Mark? Oh.
Jamie.
Yes.
Kathy. You just left. Kirk.
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Millie, yes.
Mark? Yes.
I thought I called you, Mark.
You may have.
Sorry.
Chris? Chris,
Yes.
you still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Can you send that invite to my K Franklin at FrankCorp email, please?
Okay, let me see what I have for you.
So we click out of this meeting and wait for a new invite?
Yes.
Okay, I'm clicking out now, right?
Yep, you guys can all leave.
Good.
All right. See you in 30 seconds.
Thanks.
Chris, you need me?